player zone. That is swinging with the charge up rapid, doing a billion damage.
Even as a duo, to output defense balls!
The ALGS is back and ready for more action in our doubleheader Memorial Day weekend. Wherever you're from, there's a lot to celebrate. Us over here in America getting ready to take tomorrow off, but that means today, oh, there's plenty of work to be done. We just saw match day 4 in North America had some surprises. Will we see more surprises like we saw in EMEA today and a scintillating start to hopefully what will be a great back half of our season? I'm so excited to be here with you and hope you are as well. My name is Randy. I'm your host. So I'll be guiding you along through the action per usual, but I've got some compatriots here who deserve a very warm welcome as well. Jamerson and Dia back at it again. Had a great cast earlier on. Dia, it's time to do it again. North America setting the tone for what is now the reigning championship region. And until somebody takes it away, they're going to be holding that one high.
And speaking of reigning championship, not just region, but team as well, Falcons play again today. And a big question from my end is going to be, with the last time these two groups matched up, Falcons coming away the winners, how long are they going to be able to keep that up? Because, well, I do think that Falcons is a fantastic roster. I think there's some pretty steep competition here in North America that the championship after championship after championship titles really aren't demonstrating as much.
It's so true, Jamerson. Anybody can take a day, especially when you're playing Apex Legends. And now that we're introducing Broken Moon, we've got E-District, we've got these challenges alongside the Legend bands. It is up for grabs, even though Falcons certainly proved that they are the best team in the most form as of now.
Yeah, I mean, throughout ALGS Open, we saw a lot of teams really come to form for that event, and one in particular I want to talk about is Twisted Minds, right? Yeah. They had a fantastic showing all the way up until finals, and there were teams who definitely rose in stocks overall. So Falcons aren't the only teams to walk away with, you know, their garlands and prizes throughout the ALGS Open. A lot of teams opened our eyes to what was really possible in terms of ceilings, in just the overall skill of the Americas region right now.
Well, a lot of teams added some skill. They added some new players. They might have even changed their org name. We'll find out that throughout all of these broadcasts. Stepping up. First of all, let's catch you up with what happened earlier on in our doubleheader. We mentioned that yesterday there were some games going in RG as they made their way to the top spot really well. But starting off, it was definitely 100 Thieves kind of stepping in and saying, we are who we think we should be, getting that squad. Baxlon has represented them before, but getting that Jen Burton and Verholst era, can he do something alongside Phony? Well, it would think so. Then it would be Shopify Rebellion that would start to apply the pressure, and that would make all the difference. Sentinels would bounce around outside of this wall, clean up this next one, guys, and then of course it would turn into the NRG show. Over game 4, 5, and 6, they would place first, 14th, and then find another way to place 6th with 11 kills, mind you, to clear them from the top. Dia, it was NRG's day, but a lot of teams showed up and had an impact, including Falcons, who took 3rd place.
Yeah, Falcons showing up despite not winning a game was really big, and I want to give a quick shout out to the only team from Group A to win a game yesterday, Ape Gang, who ended up clutching up, I believe it was match 5 at the time. It's a big win for Ape Gang that pushes them up to 9th and makes them the team from Group A to look out for if your name isn't Falcons coming into today.
And Jamerson, overall standings, NRG obviously showing that they are a team that, while in the open and online, have to be dealt with. But Shopify Rebellion, Falcons, 100 Thieves, good performances from them. A lot of these teams going to have some momentum facing off now against Group C.
Yeah, if you look at the overall points bunch that was NRG there in the top, look at their ratio, 61 kill points to the 32 placement points. If there were more frags to go around for everybody else, we might have seen a more even scoreline overall, but NRG were doing a fantastic job of playing aggressive early on. And maybe sometimes to their detriment where they weren't able to convert on points overall. This is, you know, something that could be a weakness that teams can look forward to. Maybe try to scout out what their rotation paths are, what their fighting conditions are. And so you can maybe identify where you can third party and maybe try and slow them down, or do you just continue playing your own game? Because at some point you do have to make it a point to try and slow down NRG if they keep playing with this momentum.
Yeah, it's going to be something they'll have to think about. NRG with a little rest day today, but TSM in that top 6, we'll see if they can improve. They'll be going at it yet again. Here are your overall standings in the ALGS for North America after 4 match days played and going into our 5th. Shopify Rebellion coming off that split 2 win, and obviously the new ownership here, which we love to see. Shout out to Moist Critical coming out and doing a LAN watch party next to Wig and everybody at the Open. That was fun. They're going to look to continue their ways, and NRG Falcons right behind them, all with 3 games apiece. So it's really tight at the top. Virtus.pro also there with 2 games. That just spells that, hey, a really good day today, Dia. They could definitely push themselves up into that conversation with a game in hand. A lot of what this looks like, though, is what are the stories for the teams that have already played, sitting back and watching, and then, of course, now for the teams in Group A who have that double header. Let's take a look at our participants for today's matchup. As Group A played yesterday, they will now play Group C, and then it will be up to Group B and C to check in with Group C next week. So Group A getting all out of the way now, Dia. Top-down overview. We got a lobby that's going to be very, very hard to separate yourself out of.
That's true, and I'm really looking forward to this because I was kind of bummed. You know, I'm a Zach fan, I'm a Virtus.pro fan, and not getting to commentate their last series, the last time these 2 teams matched up, where they actually won 2 games. You know, I enjoyed watching it, but I kind of want to yell about it. Now I'm hoping that I get to yell about it because we are changing things up once again, and Virtus.pro, my big question for them is going to be in the opposite way to what we were talking about with NRG. Can they actually rack up enough kills to keep themselves consistent when you're not getting a bunch of placement points?
This is great. I'm actually going to jump right back to you, Dia Jamerson, because we've already had about 6 hours of Apex, it feels like, so far today in terms of start and finish, and now we're beginning another couple of hours. So let's jump into the teams that we need to look at and the audience needs to pay attention to. Dia, I'm going to start with you. Who's your one to watch in terms of their performance? And, you know, we could tilt it a little bit. Who's somebody who maybe needs to step up today and is trying to bounce back from a couple of things that yesterday maybe went well or didn't go so well?
You know, I tell you what, especially when you say a team that needs to bounce back from the performance, I'd throw Team Liquid out there. It's a team that I love with all my heart. These guys are fantastic, but the recent pickup of Yanya was another shift away from what they had tried to do this split up until recently, up until after the Open. It started off looking really good for them in yesterday's games. They grabbed 2nd in the first game, and then after that, we saw Team Liquid sort of fall apart at the seams, and it's specifically the seams by which they're put together. They're amazing team fighting. They struggled to find fights that were particularly advantageous for them, and that unfortunately cost them a lot when it came to the overall scores, because they were taking fights early that were perhaps a little unnecessary and also not winning them, which means that you're dying with no placement points and no kill points either. When I look at this roster again, I'm excited to see Yanya back. I have to bring up that looking at the way that these 2 teams, or rather the way this team performed the last time these groups matched up against each other, it goes in terms of damage leaders, Falcons, I think it was, it was Falcons, Virtus.pro, it was Lou, Falcons, and then it was Kurev. And Kurev's no longer on this roster. So what does a Team Liquid look like in 2025 if Kurev isn't playing for them? I love that we have Yanya back. What does that actually look like if Team Liquid are succeeding? Because they couldn't figure that out yesterday.
And something they're going to try to fine-tune today as well. That classic Yanya aggression back with Neasel and Jaguares. Can they find the answer that Liquid Alienware went? And can we continue the conversation on when will this team have their shot in the sun and lift a trophy? Well, now they've got a chance to keep that going. Jamerson, what about you? Who do you have your eye on for today that needs to show up?
Yeah, we're continuing with the teams that we want to see improve along the way, and we're going to be talking about Rock Esports here with the newest edition of Saucer now coming on to the team to join Deeds and Vaxlon. It looks like, unfortunately, some old habits, or not old habits, but old curses are really starting to rear their head for Rock Esports, right? Saucer, great at being able to identify zones, get his teams into it. If he's got priority onto it, they can secure themselves a spot where they convert into top fives. We saw that in game 1 and game number 2 of our days yesterday. But once it came down to those cross map rotations, further rotations, we saw that they ended up struggling a little bit more. So again, we need to see them really be able to navigate that mid game a little bit better. Maybe moving on from a lot of that center zone play style and really figuring out maybe how to do some more counter rotates or negative rotates and take their time to get into the zone. But right now it's still looking like they're having those growing pains that Saucer never really was able to kind of shake off. Hopefully though, with Deeds and Vaxlon, that is something that they can't shake up. We did get to see some glimmers of hope there, especially in match number 4. We talked about match number 1 and match number 2, again able to secure top 5. But those cross map rotations, that's where they were punished a little bit more. Glimmer of hope, mid-game fights there in match number 4 allowed them to pick up 8 points, and overall that fourth game is what really helped them secure that middle of the road performance. But we're expecting a lot more out of this team. I feel like, again, this is another one of those squads that has the potential to really be up there among some of the best teams. They just haven't reached it yet.
I think that's a great way to put it. You look at Vaxlon and Deeds, I had mentioned them in their old 100 Thieves roster with Onmu, and now Saucerer finding his way off of LG into this zone. It's going to take a minute to find the rhythm between these 3 players, but can they do it today? 2 match days in a row means you have one bad weekend, you're impacting close to 30% of the games that you're going to play the entirety of the split. So very important they get it right today. Another team in that conversation for me is Twisted Minds. I think this is a team that we all now have high expectations on. One of the things that, surprised me was how well Crook and Enemy played with Alb. Alb has not had a Rockstar roster for a long time. And by Rockstar, I mean just one that you put him on the advantage when you think they're taking a fight, you think they're going to win. He's put together a lot of talented teams that were kind of underdogs, that were dark horses in the race. But now it feels like Twisted Minds with the org representation, very, very supportive org, as well as the players got behind him and the synergy, which is how well he's playing. It feels like this could be the moment that Alb becomes the superstar. But while things started off really well for them yesterday, things started to slow down. One of the problems could have been that actually Shopify Rebellion and them were just having too many similar ideas, and Twisted Minds was not there because it was Empty who stopped a lot of their rotations, took away a few of those spots that they really wanted to, challenged Crook in areas that kind of, as you could see, left him isolated here and really made things difficult for Twisted Minds to get their rhythm. If this team's going to succeed, it's going to be a team where everyone is playing to the best of their ability. And while Alp might be the stallion in charge, I've done 2 horse references at this point, I think we got to see if Enemy can somehow find himself in this kind of growing stage of saying, I'm taking on the responsibility to be that number 2 guy. I know that I've got that potential. I know that I'm young, I'm able to gun, and I can truly get things done. And if that's what Enemy does and he takes that on, he grows into his potential, this is going to be a very, very dangerous team. I'm looking for a lot more of those matches like that in match 5 coming up throughout today. Another conversation too, guys. I mean, when we start looking at this new team, we know Saucerer left LG, a team that I had picked in the open to do well in one of their rounds was LG. I liked the fact that they had a lot of synergy. Well, now they're going to find that synergy again with a new pickup. Knock is there. He's wearing the NRG jersey because we don't have any pictures of this guy not being in NRG. I mean, he exited NRG. That's what you think of when you think of Nocturnal. Now you got to think LG. And the best part about it is that Shubi and Stay Naughty really found their rhythm. They found it in LAN. Knock wasn't a part of that LAN. He was obviously trying to find his way. And look at this. Now I think they will. This is a kind of person that has had so much experience, but clearly has not been able to translate that experience into the big win that they were hoping for. There's a reason he's on all of the top tier pro teams he's picked up, and he's replacing players who have been doing well. It's because his capability to impact a game, to make the right calls, and to be a threat, and also just a likable personality, it's top tier. He's one of the leaders in our scene, but can he bring that version of Knock out? We've seen versions where he's not himself. He's not as excited about the way the team is going, and that could be a downer, and that can actually have a big impact in the morale and the way that they communicate and find themselves out of holes. It didn't work with that squad, and they find a way, no Coach Hodzik this time around, to do it with LG and start a new zone. I love it, and Dia, I'm definitely hoping for LG to come out swinging today.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed for them. Like you talk about Rain Day, most of the game, in fact, is fighting other people, but especially for what we used to call NRG, a lot of it came down in the end to the squad fighting themselves. And I don't even mean in between the three players. I mean themselves individually. And so especially coming back from a break, you want to get a nice swing of momentum in your direction. And it's for that reason that I'm hoping that LG succeed, because that momentum could be the very thing that crushes your demons, or it could be the thing that really cements them for the rest of your career.
Well, we all know, as I mentioned, that sometimes the right squad, whether it's the best in the world or not, can turn into a competitor to lift a trophy, because the right energy, the right vibe, it's sometimes the difference in those tough situations where everyone wants to give up. They don't see a way out, but you somehow keep fighting till the end. A lot of that is having the right support. We highlighted it in EMEA, but we need to keep highlighting it because of how important they are. The coaches that keep these teams stable, help them see a vision through the darkness to the light, and find a way out of some of the trickiest rotations, not just in game, but out of game as well, to come together and get the job done. Let's highlight our coaches in North America and all they do for our teams.
My name is Drogo, and I'm the coach of Team Falcons.
My name is Bronzy, and I'm the coach for 100 Thieves.
My name is Don, and I'm the coach of Shopify Rebellion.
A lot of what I do is behind the scenes before games start. It's a lot of like prep work with the boys, during scrims, making sure that everybody's held accountable, make sure that we're improving as much as we can.
Things I do to help prepare my team for a certain game day include loot paths, watching other teams play from certain POIs, making sure everyone is happy and confident with the role in the team.
Making sure that we're all aligned on the same thought process and the same goal, and just making sure everyone's in a good mental is like the main thing. Everything that a coach does is essentially like helping the players reduce time into doing their own research.
It's a lot for the players to also do on the side, and having a coach makes it perfect. I think the role of a coach is very crucial. For a good team to be a good team, there needs to be a great coach.
All right, let's keep that momentum.
I think the biggest thing is having a good personality and understanding how to control your team and making sure your team runs smoothly. Like in all sports, you know what I mean? A leader. A coach is a leader.
Goal of my coaching is to, one, obviously help them improve individually and as a team, but also just understanding them. At the end of the day, we're all human.
You know, high stakes situations, so you want to make sure the players are playing with, you know, as much confidence as possible. You know, they're not dropping their heads after a bad game or a couple of bad games. You know, ways to alleviate that pressure and overall, I guess, like the team's vibe and team chemistry.
If you're not understanding your players, and you're not understanding your team. And if you're not understanding your team, then you're not doing the role as a coach correctly.
The overarching feeling once we won the LAN was relief, to be honest with you. So as soon as we do put that first on the board, it's kind of just like, you know, you take a deep breath, you did your job.
Winning for the first time was one of the best feelings I've ever felt in my life. You don't really understand how much people love gaming and how much of a crowd there is, and we're all grateful, especially me, that this could be my job and what I do every day.
In my opinion, coaches don't get as much recognition as they probably should. I think a large part of that is because a lot of what the coach does in Apex especially is behind the scenes.
I feel like a lot of the work gets swept under the rug. I think a lot of coaches deserve way more recognition than they do currently.
It's kind of like, I think it's hard for people to see to the full extent what a coach does in Apex. And therefore it's, you know, a lot of the time coaches don't get the kind of credit that they deserve.
Would have that team won without me? That SSG roster? Hell no.
I want to be the best that I can. Not even the money, is not even anything like that. It's just holding a trophy. I think a lot of people would lie if they didn't say that. It's blessing to experience.
Truly a blessing to experience, and I noticed so many of those words, Jamerson, about stuff that was outside of the game, keeping their heads up after a couple of bad games, keeping the mental strong, understanding we're all human. Those intricacies so big in being a coach at this level.
Yeah, I also like the difference, right, between EMEA and the Americas region. EMEA was like, my job is to basically give them all the accolades, right? I'm just there to support them. No, in the Americas region, it's all about the coaches. Give us all of our flowers now. But I agree with Don that there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes that it's very hard to really quantify how much they help. But the fact that they are able to give them the moral support, but also just the tactical support is huge.
It is huge. And you guys, I can't wait to see how that impacts us. It's time to get the games going. The players are ready. The drop ship is hot. As we now kick it over for you guys to go and cast. I just wanted to make you laugh here to kick off the day. So let's do it. Let's get into game one.
Right, whether it's making me laugh, making me smile, it's 100% success rate, and nothing is going to set us up better than a few smiles to get us into game one. We are going to E-District for our first 3 games, and then moving on over to Broken Moon. And you and I saw this morning, Jamerson. E-District is close quarters, and it is Alter Town.
Yeah, is that a 100% pick rate that I'm seeing on Alter? I believe it is for E-District, and Alter was the first ban throughout EMEA earlier this morning, was also the first ban for NA yesterday, so no surprises here whatsoever, Dia.
Yeah, it is easier to name teams without Alter than it is to name teams with her. And you know, one of the things that I was curious about when we saw the Twisted Minds highlight was obviously the ALGS Sparrow, right? We're seeing this guy's always on the forefront of innovation, of what legends are going to be picked up. It is no surprise to me that we are seeing Sparrow picked up so early on in North America, and especially by a team like Twisted Minds.
Yeah, and one thing to note in that regard is also that Alb really got his start with Pathfinder. Now we're in a meta where Pathfinder is definitely viable, and we got to see the prevalence of Pathfinder throughout EMEA today. But instead, he opts to forego that for the Sparrow regardless. And so, I mean, I love to see him on it. Give him movement, give him options to find angles, and he will find an opening for your team. So I'm glad that we have a meta where a lot of our players are able to express themselves in different ways, and in particular, just the compositions that we're seeing. I mean, not right now, though. Not right now, as we can see that we have a lot of mirror comps here with the new Castle, Catalyst, and Alter, but I don't think anyone's really that surprised by that composition really coming to the forefront here on E-District.
Yeah, the legend bands, they'll help smooth us over a little bit later. But right now, heading into the center of the map, you are going to be seeing a lot of mirror matchups. And around Energy Bank, there's plenty of space for people to coexist. Also, a lot of space for teams to retreat into and out of. One of the things that was highlighted, I believe it was by Funk in our first couple of games this morning, or rather at halftime, was how much Alter can be impactful, especially in places like E-District, in allowing zone teams to get more active. And in Energy Bank, that's going to be really important because you want to claim a spot in Energy Bank, and you also want to go for the third parties.
Yeah, the nice thing about having that Alter is, of course, that even if you move in early, your economy doesn't suffer too much for it, right? With a passive, you can really utilize that to make sure that you're topped off to at least a decent fighting position. Right now, though, Omid, very early on, of course, taking early position here in E-Bank, and we'll see, though, where this one pulls away, but early committing to a building isn't the worst, especially when you do have the Alter in play. Like we talked about throughout EMEA, a lot of these walls, a lot of the barriers are just constructs in your mind. You don't have to really worry about them. And so you can get very creative in finding a rotation path if this zone ends up pulling away from you. But our early fight, Team Liquid versus Falcons.
That's the Liquid I'm looking for. Picking up the first knock, the first kill on Imperial Hal. A very nice start for them to take out one of the most valuable players at the ALGS Open to start their day off. I do like the way that Team Liquid have started. I will say, however, not a 3v3, so we gotta wait a little while to see what else they're able to convert into. I also want to quickly highlight, yes, folks, that is an unforced Mirage that you saw RKN running. There's a Mirage Lifeline Alter squad in this game, which is essentially, Jamerson, with the perks, a triple support squad if you want it to be.
Yeah, Halo. We're gonna see our first Halos, I think, throughout Pro League here in North America. So glad to see that Arcane is still, here with us to make sure that the meta is still a little bit questionable at times, right? Where you don't really know exactly what every team's going to be running, and bringing in some of these off-meta picks. While we did get to see Mirage being utilized at Open, especially when we got deeper into a series, for the first round pickup, that's still very strange, I would say, overall.
We should go there. I go though.
I'm curious what the thought is behind that. We'll catch it with him on an interview later, I'm sure. For the moment, I don't think there's any questioning what's going on with Board right now. Sitting around, I wouldn't call it the edge of the map, but taking their time on a rotation in, not booking it straight to the center of zone, and likely looking for fights. With some creative void next Psy, I'm gonna go with that. MJ should be able to set things up for the team.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the root of the word is. And if it is Greek, I think it's supposed to be Nexi. I don't know. I don't know. English is
That sounded way smarter than what I was gonna do. So.
Now on board with Flat, who I believe, yeah, that's gonna be Citadel Gaming on the outskirts here on the eastern side of the map right now, but doesn't look like they're really ready to fight, kind of positioning around, and they're a little bit split up, but they should be safe. It doesn't look like Citadel are looking for aggression. They're just looking to camp some additional loot, maybe a beacon. It's hard to tell here, but for Flat, they will back away. We did also get Hal back into this game. It wasn't too big of a surprise. It seemed like it was more for spreading out, for Falcons at least, and spreading out and trying to cover as much ground as possible initially. They knew that they can go ahead and craft him back on in. They didn't have to worry about securing that banner or it being camped, and so it looked like it was very much a not a calculated risk, but just a risk that they could easily give up.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem to cost Falcons really barely any momentum, maybe a little bit less loot for them, but even that can be remedied very quickly if you pick the right fight. They move up onto Corinthians, who then retreat themselves, because you can do that with Ultra. You can go for a little bit of Evo and then get right back to your team like nothing ever happened. Falcons are going to do exactly the same thing. Again, still playing around the edge in Neon Square and looking for their opportunity, likely a little bit more data for the upcoming zone, because we are just about to find out who's predicted things the rightest of them all. I'm expecting something like Leave No Witnesses or Ape Gang, but instead it's Omit who get that dead center zone pull on ring number 3.
Yeah, and we saw them take that position very early on. Falcons will be able to spot that out. They've got the survey beacon to utilize if they want to. It does seem like Corinthians are possibly eyeing this beacon scan for themselves, but Falcons might be able to deter them. It does seem like, though, they're trying to move towards that north side of the map, try to go towards the slow side of the zone. A lot of these teams, play similarly in that regard, and that's why we're seeing that they will possibly face off against Liquid Alienware this time, though, hopefully in a full 3v3.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. The rematch this early on. Again, that first kill of the game went to Liquid Alienware. What can Falcons do about it if they take the fight again? A lot of teams will be looking towards the north side of the map and available for the extra third party as well, which could be another source of excitement for us later on. Liquid Alienware do seem keen on rotating out, and Citadel Gaming keen on rotating in, as they've got a position in the south side of the zone, one that's a little bit more crowded than you otherwise might anticipate, with Most Loved and CIMJ MX waiting to take a fight with each other. Citadel Gaming waiting in the wings.
Yeah, we got all the crypto drones out, though, for CIMJMX, excuse me, there. So Citadel do have to be a bit cautious on this approach. There's no reason for them to take this engagement if they don't feel like it. There are plenty of options for them to rotate out. They can go to the north. They can wide swing and continue to rotate to the north side. That portion of the map has been largely emptied out as most teams have made their way into eBank. And speaking of team that is working their way on in, it's Liquid Alienware right now, right on top of a ring console. They want to camp this one as much as possible. It seems a team off in the distance. That's going to be the new LG, now moving their way on through, possibly having similar ideas and trying to make their way towards the ring console. And really, this is going to be one of the most valuable ring console scans that you can get. As you can see, the ring pulling up towards that north side of eBank, there's still a lot of different variables in how this one can pull. So that ring 4 is going to be extremely valuable for anyone to be able to secure.
Surprising to see no one else going for this as a result as well. I mean, a lot of teams should be thinking exactly the same way as you, Jamerson. Like, this is really valuable information. We've got to get it. And yet, only one squad was sitting up towards the north side. Falcons having instead chosen to make the early rotate in, put themselves up against Leave No Witnesses and Ape Gang, and are currently just sitting there staring at the choke. You want to make sure, as always, when you're playing around the edge of the zone, to clear your back, because becoming a sandwich is... It's not your dream.
Yeah, quick update. Liquid Alienware actually gave up on that ring console, and so they have committed on to Omit's building. So now Omit have to deal with Liquid Alienware, that despite not being able to move out, get additional scans, they know that with the team basically ballooning in onto their building, that they have confirmation that the ring is going to be pulling towards them. So they know the importance of holding onto this building right now.
Yeah, it is all about being able to find a nice way to coexist with the teams below you while also maintaining your space, because once you give up a floor, you are not getting it back. And Flat, they know that very well. Pushing in onto Omit, they claim a floor with a Newcastle wall, and using an ult to do it makes it a whole lot easier. Again, Liquid Alienware below both these teams, so you can't hard fight, but you can force a little bit of space to be taken as Flat.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You have to be playing the floor as lava here, right? Because at any moment, any of these altars, remember, every single team has an altar, can go ahead and spleef you and take you out. Fusion will be the first team to go down to Movie Star Koi there. And so that is now going to be 19 squads remaining. Getting a better look at that next ring pull. It will continue to go on the way of Omit, Alienware, and Flat, who are nearly dead center in the zone. Falcons creeping their way in from that north side. Rock set up early on, as well you would expect with a team that plays zone so well.
Yeah, really nice game plan out from LG and Falcons, notably. LG, who played the slow side on Galleria and have gone completely unchallenged so far, and Falcons, who make the proactive move up from center of Energy Bank to a bit of no man's land. There aren't a whole lot of buildings that they can hold up towards the north. It is going to be a lot of open space and corners off these tree beds, but that's going to be all you need, because if you're there first, it's mighty hard to wrestle any space away from you in Apex Legends.
The nice thing for Falcons in that position there on the northern side is that there's just so much going on inside the zone right now. 3-4 teams basically stacked on top of each other means that they have to play very conservatively. They can't peek out. They can't stay in one position for too long, giving Falcons a lot of additional space.
Most Love starting to move their way in as well. TSM playing around the edge of the zone. This looks like a good spot for Panic, the recent pickup of TSM, to prove a lot of value with a triple take in hand, but being sniped still does make actually rotating in quite difficult. Are they going to actually take this Void Nexus? Most Loved do go down. We're into 17 squads, but not into placement point territory just yet.
Ooh, Gold Helm. Let's go ahead and listen in with TSM as they try to make their way on into the zone.
Yeah, he's trying. He missed both. I'm gonna take a look in here. They have no way of getting up.
They can silent walk up on us too, I think, and climb up.
They could just triple Q, because if they know we're split,
yeah, they could. Yeah, they could. They're burning, dude.
Hold on.
They're getting zapped up.
No, they might. There's no one in this room. There's no one in this room.
Yeah, come back.
I'm queuing.
On the right, out here. You went back.
You guys come? There's no one in this room. I'm coming. I got a med kit. I have no Q. I have no Q or wall. Try to come quick. I'm coming. I'm coming. Unless they're like running or something. We're good.
All right. You guys keep probably scanning forward. I'm gonna just watch our back.
TSM, they make the nice rotate. They make the safe rotate. Virtus.pro do not. Off in the north of zone, they unfortunately will go down, and Twisted Minds are on the verge of falling as well. Crook gonna get ulted. Can enemy turn around and change their fate? No, he cannot. He goes down instantly, and it's up to Crook now to survive. Still does have the ability to res everybody on Crypto, but he's got to find his way to safety first. Falcons hit a quick respawn, getting themselves back into the game, and it's Ape Gang that are pushing up onto Falcons, having just lost Kuzme.
Yeah, Falcons try to get a little bit aggressive onto that building that we saw all the teams at, like Alienware, Omit, and company. But it does seem like Falcons will be able to full reset here. Twisted Minds gets the respawn onto enemy throughout all of this. A lot of fighting on the outskirts of Energy Bank right now because of that hard pull to the north side. LG in prime position there. Basically the only team is set up for that final zone. Falcons looking for another respawn. What is this, like their third, fourth one this game?
I think they're farming the Evo points, right? You know, they're just keep sticking them right now, sitting at full purples. It's paid off, but it is a risk every time. Twisted Minds starting to pick up some kills as well, and LG put themselves on the board as TSM once again are struggling for rotation in, still right next to Movistar Koi, who have taken down one, and Duplex may be the second. Twisted Minds is going to fall, and TSM as a duo seem to have survived, weathered the storm for now.
Yeah. Don't know if there'll be an opportunity. Well, the Crafter is right there for them, but there's another team on the other side. It's going to be Wands getting chased down in the end there, but he needs backup. There we go. Duplex showing up, but now TSM in the 2v2. Can they survive?
All up to Dupe, and immediately Dupe is down. We do have a third party in the area, though, but it's Falcons that have come in, smelling the blood. They use Alter to get aggressive, and no reason to retreat just yet. Are going to slide on in. However, with an Alter retreat coming out on the other side, Void Nexus being used, Falcons inherit all of this loot for themselves, and now get to reset from the center of Energy Bank and fight Movistar Koi themselves.
Yeah, the red Evo is going to be huge for Hal to be able to pick up. Now NIP setting up walls, but here's Movistar Koi pushing forward onto Team Falcons.
And it seems like they're doing really well with the 30-30. It just isn't hitting. Falcons turn around and hit almost every shot, but FPS melts in front of them, and Movistar Koi try and make a play, and it does not work against the Falcons.
Oh, NIP coming in for the third party, and they have not been able to full reset. That's Falcons knocked down, bringing us down to 11 squads. Falcons going down in 12th. That aggression ultimately getting punished. There was just too much action there on the south side for them to deal with. NIP, the ultimate victors throughout all of that. Plenty of red Evo shields for them to pick up, though. Throughout all of this, LG still sitting pretty in the northeast side of the zone, the only team currently inside of the zone. We've got NIP pushing forward, trying to creep up from the southeast side here, but they've got two teams that they have to deal with in Citadel Gaming and Board, hold up in that building just right above them. And unfortunately, the drop down is going to come. NIP need to wait this out. They need to save their utility to make sure they get clean kills.
I mean, I am really looking forward to this, to the way that this end game will play out for LG. Everybody else struggling for a spot in zone. NIP even ulting for it, but it's LG, who we said at the beginning of the day needed some momentum to go with them, who now stand with the largest chance to win the game. NIP is starting to slip away as Ape Gang go down, and a thin knockdown shield stands between McLovin and death, between Korev and Demise. NIP omit, leave no witnesses. Citadel and Ape Gang all go down in a matter of 5 seconds.
Yeah, now the numbers being whittled down here as Board trying to poke out. LG are looking for opportunities for kill points there. As you can see, they're the only uncontested team down there on the low ground, though. Corinthians are able to full reset. Board not getting overly aggressive. Flat getting pushed by Team Liquid Alienware. Excuse me, it's the other way around, and it's going to be Vaxlon to find a couple kills for himself with Rock in that high ground position.
And great use of ultimates of time by Rock. Corinthians looking for a reset, looking for some form of hope. Kings accidentally hits the res and is going to hit the Void Nexus just to retreat for a second. Rock sweep in, pick up several kills, and now rejoin the fray. Looking for the last kill on Flat, and they will find it. That is a P2020 you cannot stop. Corinthians and Flat now gone. Top 3 squads. It is LG, Board, and Rock.
And it's LG with all the space in the world to work with, but they've got to be careful themselves. You can see that LG are looking to angle on to Board here on the low ground, but you cannot overextend. Rock are looking for that opportunity to come in for that third party. You don't want to give anything up right now, especially when you have such a commanding position. The big question is, what kind of utility is going to be there for LG? They really haven't been that involved in a lot of these fights. They should have additional nades. They should have all of their ultimates online, while Board had to commit a lot into this fight. It's going to be up to Rock here to try and slow things down on the LG side. And Rock now moving forward with that mobility shield. They do have one stuck in the back. LG looking to control the battleground.
And LG have given up a lot of control so far. They've got teams all up on top of them, including Rock, who now are going to swing onto Naughty. Naughty goes down. LG are losing control of a game that should have been theirs, and Rock are taking it just like they took the buildings earlier. Rock slide up and still have yet to eliminate LG, but as they go down, Rock are nearly full health and look to take just that extra chunk. They find Board, and Rock, with ease, slam the lobby, taking game number 1.
Big questions up there for Rock. How will they perform? And, well, they have already answered our basic expectations and questions. They get the zone, they get to the center of it, and then they dominate. But, of course, there were some errors along the way that helped them be able to succeed. LG overextending, trying to find an angle on some boards to apply a little bit of pressure there to possibly corral them into Rock. Ended up working out against LG. Rock were able to take advantage of that. You saw the speed that they were able to move on top of that position and take them out. Really great heads up play coming out from Rock, noticing that, you know what, there is a weakness in this defense of LG, and they immediately took advantage of it.
I mean, let's take a look at how well this went for Rock, because they should have a lot of points off the back of this, having taken out so many teams on the way in. 26 points for their first game on E-District. Rock look really, really good. And I mean, I was pulling for this team just from a, I like these guys, I hope they do well together perspective. But now seeing them actually come into the first game and dominate like this, it is really, really impressive, Jamerson.
Yeah, one thing I do want to note is that the way that the meta has shifted around guns really now does help out a lot of these teams that try to get center zone early on, right? We're seeing a lot more long-range weaponry. We're seeing the 30-30s. We're seeing a lot more sniper rifles being utilized here, and that allows them to get those mid-game kills. We saw Vax find a few himself with the Sentinel, and that does help clear out the battlefield for themselves. So I'm glad that, you know, now there are a little bit more tools, or a few more tools in the back pocket for our center zone teams to really control the zone around them.
Taking a look at some of our top performers. Vaxlon out of Rock, slaying with the 7 kills. That's half the team's kills. And interestingly enough, when we look at LG, you had mentioned this is a team that, while they were center zone, didn't get a lot going. You've got all of the kills on LG on one person for Rock. Vaxlon made that work so well and really was the spearhead with which Rock took this lobby. It's a great start for North American ALGS, and we've got even more with 2 more games of E-District coming up right after the break.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to introduce to you our newest legend, Sparrow. It's been a while since we've had a recon legend, and we wanted to bring one that offered a new, unique way of tracking enemies. He's also extremely agile, which allows him to excel at traversing the environment. Let's jump into his kit. For his passive, he has double jump. This allows him to have a second jump while he's in the air. He also has a unique ability called wall launch that allows him to quickly get to the top of walls by pressing jump while climbing. For the tactical, he has the tracker dart. This can be shot out on any surface and will reveal enemies that get within sight of it. Enemies that are revealed will have a trail that can be seen through walls and will also have a marker that shows the distance the enemy is away from you. For the ultimate, we have the Stinger Bolt. This is a large arrow that will be shot out and planted into the ground. After a short charge up, it will pulse out blasts that will deal damage and slow any enemy within its range. Sparrow will be unlocked temporarily for free at the start of the season, so everyone will get a chance to play him, and he'll be yours to keep if you can beat a set of challenges. Jump in and try Sparrow in our newest season, Prodigy.
Well, welcome back here as we get ready for game 2, giving our man Jamerson a little bit of a break. Dia, it's time to jump into the action. We were talking about it before. I mean, it was a great final end zone. Huge credit to Rock, maybe a couple of mistakes there from LG, but ultimately it was interesting to me to see how 2 of the 4 teams that we highlighted and saying we need them to be looking at how they can perform or do better from yesterday have already started it in a way where they're performing better than 70-80% of the teams in the lobby.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic way, and I don't want to, whatever the opposite of sugarcoat it is, I don't want to underplay it. Rock did so incredibly well in this end game and throughout the game. We even talked about them up against Omit, being sure to take space on the bottom floor, get whatever advantage they could, and you saw that pay off in a huge way where in the end you take down the whole of LG and you swing onto board with full health bars. That's an incredible feat to be able to be in an end game, take a fight, and then still win the game, because more often than not, Rain Day, we're looking at end zones going, all right, there are 3 teams alive, the first 2 to fight, those are the losers.
Yeah, correct. Even had time to jump up onto the roof and take a 1v1. I mean, I don't know if this was, again, a problem with board as well, because normally what you're seeing, you see a couple of knocks go down. Well, as the third-party team, you try to get involved. You try to make that happen. We don't exactly know if they would have had that back, what they would have done differently, but certainly worked out in the way of Rock. We'll have Alter banned for this game and go back into E-District yet again. It's always exciting for me to see E-District. I think it brings just so many new challenges for these teams. There's still a lot of places that are not necessarily undiscovered, but, you know, underplayed to the point where things are still being learned, not just by us, but definitely even by the pros on how's the best way to approach this fight, given that these are the scenarios that this circle has put us in. And you're seeing that translate here. Sometimes teams in a great spot looking like, how does this not go your way? And it doesn't.
Yeah, it is difficult to adjust on E-District, especially when we've got Alter in the game and then you take her out of it. It's not so much her presence or not, but how you deal with the change that is always going to be coming in the middle of the game, and so, or rather in the middle of your set. Because we are looking forward to the next couple of matches, I also want to talk a little bit about some of the zones that we saw in this particular case, right? Sure. Rock win. It's right on Energy Bank. They land at Galleria. This is, in air quotes, an expected finish for them, and Rock should be doing really well when we go to the center of the map. I'm very curious about the whole south side though, because especially when you're landing over by Labs or over by Old Town Stadium, we saw this as well. This seems to be the area of the map where the most action can happen really early on, and I'd love to see a few teams from there get aggressive. Movistar Koi had a really good game moving up to Energy Bank, but I think that if you are starting on the southeastern side of the map, you want to be looking for kills really early on, in the way of like old Apex Legends, when teams really would just run you down, or if you watch the Open, in the form of Twerkaholics.
You know, the only thing is for me when it comes to this map in particular, I think you have less wiggle room. You kind of started out saying that. Now, I think I just want to reiterate, you have a little less wiggle room to commit to something and then have the ability to adjust if that's not what ends up happening. A big zone pull starting out south, then suddenly going north. Energy District is brutal with allowing you to have a good route if 2-3 teams are ahead of you to get around them or to circumvent what has already become now, all right, kind of my fate. I'm just going to try to get kills. I'm just going to try to run around and see what I cause chaos. Maybe I get lucky here. Maybe I wait it out and someone makes a mistake before me. It's one of those maps that definitely doesn't give you as much leeway to adjust on the fly. And so a lot of these early rotations, get me thinking, like, are we missing a legend on E District? Like, should we be seeing Valkyrie at all a little bit more here? Is she just completely needing something new to be relevant again? It's because no one's doing it that people aren't thinking about it. But to me, I feel like, sometimes these spots that you're in on this map, it's one of the only ways to do anything about the 4 teams in front of you and line of buildings and freeway ramps that you'd have to pass.
Yeah, Valkyrie definitely, that's an underused pick. I wouldn't put her at the top of like a legend tier list, nor would you. No. But does she have her niche uses, and should we be looking for them, especially on maps like E-District? I think you're right, Rainday. A lot of teams still have catching up to do when it comes to the science of, what exactly are we going to try? What works best on one map versus another versus what are our players comfortable with? And it's a delicate balance, and it's one that, just to talk a little bit about what we mentioned at the start of the show, a coach can really help with.
It's true. And this is one of those things too, where it's like, there's not going to be a lot of reps to get the veracity of if this is going to work or not. You're going to have to almost say, and theoretically, we think this will work, and we're going to be willing to do it because that's how we want to play. But in the same way that maybe somebody might be excited to do that for Sparrow, or someone that's in the fray, in the fight, interacting with other teams and asserting their will, Valkyrie, very much like Crypto, which Phoenix thanked the Apex gods to be able to not play anymore because of the ability for Sparrow. She's a little bit more like, let me play the macro game. And in a way, does that take away from some of the more micro opportunities for really good fraggers, really good players to be thinking about how they want to win that 1v3 versus, you know what, here's what we need to do to optimally fly over this team and land in this building and then, kind of hole ourselves up in here. I think it is a different play style choice. And in some ways, we are a little bit in more of an aggressive meta than I think we've seen in a long time. I don't know if she fits that.
A big part of this is also, you mentioned the weapon meta. And Jamerson touched on this as well. Long range weapons that do a lot of damage. Yeah. Valkyrie's ult, especially at the start, not super safe. We used to see her paired with Gibraltar to make that extra safe, like the takeoff. And then that started to go away when things were changed and she wasn't as safe anymore. And if you're taking 30 shots to the face when you try and ult as Valkyrie, you may as well put her down.
Yeah, with that skull piercer as well, it's not going to look good, unfortunately. And for the other teams in the lobby, it does look good on this screen for our top 3 so far. Rockboard and LG. Deeds bringing in 1,500 damage. Vaxlon saying, oh, let me double that in terms of kills and add a 1,900 piece on my own. Great stuff from them. And obviously teams we'll see in just a second. The lobby has been restarted, so we're just waiting for that to get back into game. But I do think that there's still stuff happening in terms of, Val, just to end, I want to kind of focus a little bit on where we just were in New Orleans. But before I do, just this one thought, the TTK changes that happened in the game for the game's sake and also for pro sake, but just to speed up Apex in these last few seasons as a design intention, Valkyrie's ult has not caught up to that. So that is something I think as a dev looking at how do we change these characters that now maybe have been hindered by the idea of we want faster play. Valk's ult probably has to end up getting faster because, it's not going to survive, anybody with the amount of charge rifles, skull piercers, things like that that are in there. So really interesting conversation. I like that little mini podcast we did there. But I kind of want to turn attention to where we were. I mean, I saw you, maybe 20 days ago. We were just finishing our land in New Orleans. Falcons raised the trophy. There was one guy who we always like to talk about, but this time he stole the show. Imperial Hal with his incredible performance. We've argued before as a talent team, who do we think should get MVP? Who do we think deserves it? This time, Dia, there really wasn't a question.
No, and you know what the best part of this was? Now, Rain Day, I like to think in my everyday life, I'm not a dramatic guy. I'm not creating a lot of drama. It is, however, one of the things that I love most about Apex is, you know, when teams get a little dramatic. And it was really exciting to watch HAL not just perform very well, like the HAL that gathered so many fans back in the TSM days, but also to know how this is impacting things behind the scenes. Because coming into the LAN, people were going, are Falcons going to stay together? There seem to have a few chemistry issues. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, HAL, who seems to be the focus of this conversation, blows up at LAN, does incredibly well, and they win with 0 IGLing, both proving that they are indispensable parts of the roster. It actually can't get any juicier because now it's like you have these two dudes holding staring each other in the face going, man, do you give me a lot of trouble, but also I can't get rid of you because I love winning too much.
Right. Will they be able to conquer their own need for winning over their own somehow resistance to not argue with their teammates? They make it interesting, as Falcons always do, and it's time to jump into game number 2 here for our match day 5. See if Falcons can respond in kind with a win here on E-District. They'll have to talk to Rock, Board, and LG about that one, though. Our top 3 from the last game leading into it. And while HAL didn't have the best day yesterday, it wasn't a bad day whatsoever. 13th overall in kills. Waltzy, 0 with 12 and 11 respectively, kind of held the weight there. 3rd place finish. We'll see what comes up for them today, Dio.
You know, a quick plug as well. If any of you are curious what's going on behind the scenes, Face It Watch, something Face It Watch.
Ooh, love that.
It's a good comm. It's a good comm, especially if you're invested in the dynamics, and that could be any team behind the scenes. Because we even caught a listen in with TSM just last game. I thought their approach to rotation through Energy Bank was pretty good, and you get to pick that apart so much more if you are really invested in how a particular position should evolve. If you're struggling with something in your own gameplay, I've certainly gone back and gone, okay, well, this clearly worked for flat, so how do I do it?
One of the things we're so good at in the ALGS is giving you those perspectives. Something that happened online, most of these times you could see pro players, well, they were sitting at a chair with a monitor, with a computer provided by this company. And that commentary you hear was just all there was. And now, I mean, I feel like if you don't have access to what they're personally saying, if you don't see, you know, Jen Burton's mom come in and give him a kiss afterwards or something like that after a win, then you're not really having the Apex experience. It's amazing how things change online, and now access becomes almost taken for granted. Being able to see these pros in action and hear every conversation. Definitely check out Face It. Faceit.com/watch, and you can pull up the map feed just like us and take a look at these zones. Dia, as Vaxlon wants a little bit of info on that map and where that zone is heading himself.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting game, and not just because it's E-District, not just because we're going somewhere else, but because we've got a tie already. 13 picks of Ashe, 13 picks of Catalyst. That is an exciting thing to note, Rain Day, because it means that the legend ban for next game is going to be dynamic based on what team performs best.
Yeah,
will it be Ashe? Will it be Catalyst?
Basically, you know, and we'll get confirmation on if this is right, but how it worked at LAN was you would get these two teams, or these two players, legends, excuse me, and you would go down the list. So let's say the team who came in first is playing both Ashe and Catalyst. Well, you'd go down to the team who came in second. Oh, both Ashe and Catalyst. Team in third, the next highest performing team with only one of the legends that were tied. So let's say that third place team only has Catalyst. Catalyst would be the one banned. Ashe would make it into the next game. So we'll have to wait and see who ends up doing it in terms of effectively playing with these legends, but we certainly know it's going to be one of those two. And so you better make the use of it.
I'll tell you what I wouldn't have expected is seeing Rock and their Catalyst be the first to fall, especially with how well Vaxlon performed last game, but it's up against Omit. These two squads really wanting to fight each other. Indeed, Go is down. Straight movement from Cody to take that 1v1. Omit doing very well, and Cody in large part to praise for being able to take that 1v2.
Cody was looking on fire there. Vaxlon hit some great 30-30 shots, even hit one on Cody after he ran out of bullets. in the SMG, but Cody was ahead of him the entire time. It's force Sauce try to get back up on his feet. It's not necessarily a resource game in the same way that some other titles can be, but certainly falling behind the pace by just having to figure out how he's going to set his teammates up to get back into this fight. A lot of different options to do so now, though. And we'll continue on with that. Zero on your kill feed. Having a little engagement with Team Liquid Alien, where Waltzy's got the bow check bow right behind. Zero's got the devotion. Says, Waltzy, leave it to me. Might have taken me down in kill leader yesterday, but here I am. I'm back at it. I'm finishing this kill, and I don't have to do much to do it, as a blue shield means nothing in front of a devotion.
Somebody should tell him we have finishers in this game, because in that particular case, I was saying, exactly. Like, you know, I'm sure you'll get more, but think of the children. You know, leave some energy ammo behind for your kids.
I love it. It's actually one of those things that we see. It's just instinctual. The hold down left click.
Yeah.
When you have a devotion, it's just what you want to do, especially when that thing ramps up. Another player who has made some huge headlines, Panic Apex. Big shout out to Panic's family. We saw his brother in New Orleans as well, alongside his mother and father, saying hello to us on the desk or the couch. Really, really sweet. I love the conversation. Said, do you know Panic? I said, yeah, I'm his brother. Okay, all right. That's the strong entrance right there. And Panic certainly has earned that right to have those strong entrances about him on TSM now, trying to do it on one of the biggest orgs in Apex. And Twisted Minds, Alvarelli finds a pick of his own.
And that's on Liquid Alienware as well. Pretty quiet in this second game. We didn't see them taking the 3v3s or even the individual kills that they did in game one to go down like that. Pretty rough.
Big Southern Zone already. Movie Star Koi. Fun FPS. No longer teaming with Nocturnal. They're in the same lobby, though. Let's see what Movie Star can do.
Blinks are going to look for a kidnap here. Will he find one? I think he might. I think he kidnapped the downed player. Wants to take down January, but doesn't get back to the portal before the frag explodes. A little bit of greed out of Blinkster. Will be remedied with a quick pickup by his friend. Fun. Going to make that all the easier. Kidnap not quite going the way that you would have wanted, but at least grabbing the finish on the knock they had earlier is well worth it.
And that Stinger Bolt right there, I love the combination of that, especially with Wraith. You really create a tough situation for a character that is so used to being able to use that, go in and out, and kind of buy some time. Well, if you put a Stinger Bolt on one side of that portal, once she goes out, you know, it becomes a very, very hard decision for her to stay out any longer than she has to. She's probably going to go right back. If so, you stalled her from pushing, and if not, well, she's basically dead. That ult is so good. CIMJ, MX, and Ghostillas on the route as well. Throw the Catalyst wall is going to force at least a little bit of hesitation. Might be able to get this res. And so far, so good. Ghostilla's still under a ton of pressure as Joe Max trying to just pop a battery here and stay alive, Dia.
Pain is going to fall, but with Joe Max back in this thing, CIMJMX may still be able to pull out, if not the team fight win, they should be able to survive this engagement at the very least. It was a lot that was expended by Ghostillas, but he grabs the banner, and that should mean a respawn is imminent. Elsewhere, TSM finding some pickups themselves, and it is Panic getting everybody back into the game. Rock still leading the lobby, but TSM want to make their push for it. They got very aggressive onto CIMJMX. I think it was the first kill of the game that they managed to pick up on CIMJ. And now it is just going to be a matter of playing the south side of zone correctly. TSM have the benefit of not needing to fight as many teams, but it doesn't seem like that matters to them too much because they are actively looking for fights as they run through the south end.
Just trying to get stabilized in this building. They know that this is going to be such a tough spot for people to push if they can set up, but that's the thing. Fighting for this real estate, it's difficult, no matter where you are, to find a location, and they have done it. They've been able to coexist. CIMJ and TSM, both back up, both alive, both in buildings right where zone is. As you can see, underneath Street Market, a little bit to the left of our arcade is where this zone is going to pull, and we'll see if this is going to be, yeah, it's going to be a challenge potentially for a lot of these teams trying to find a spot in there. So how do you play it, especially teams like LG, where, you know, a lot of buildings, when they get there, they're just not going to be left.
This Twisted Minds Falcons rotate really catching my eye as well. The fact that both of them are coming in from the western side. Falcons took the deep southwestern rotate, and Twisted Minds, if they end up playing Street Market, will actually have a ring console available to them, knowing that they are playing with, statistically, the Catalyst. They should be able to grab the extra information, and like Jamerson was mentioning just last game, have the read on not just Zone 2, but Zone 3.
Falcons get hit by the EMP. Newcastle ultimate goes up, throws the wall down, says you shall not pass. Nobody currently trying to get inside, but Falcons just setting up their territory as well. TSM, CIMJ still in the mix right near them. Flat also around. Virtus.pro trying to make their way up on high ground and see if they can get into a little bit of action here. Still 17 squads left. See what Zach Mazer on the Sparrow can glean from that scan. Absolutely love that aspect of Sparrow, just being able to hit those quick recons. Dia, it's one of my favorite things about the character.
And it was actually something that we talked about even on EMEA this morning in our interview with Phoenix, but the ability to now hit those from a distance,
yeah, makes
Sparrow so valuable. Hard as it may be sometimes to actually hit it correctly, which, you know, at long range, I've certainly missed a few. I'm working on it.
No, you're being humble. I know you don't miss one. I know you don't miss one. Here it is, Virtus.pro trying not to miss one bullet on the P2020. Now that's a challenge. Those things do spray. But when they hit, boy, do they hit. Lou cycling back on the Catalyst as well. This is a team that's performed quite well. Thought they were making that elimination bracket run in New Orleans. Had a disappointing finish when it came to those last couple of sets, but obviously it is a team with a lot of potential. And, you know, Zach, we actually had that conversation about him, Dia, and you mentioned he's a real underrated IGL, not just because of his skill in calling, but how he uplifts his team as well.
Seems to be working out for them here, and it'll be an interesting sort of showdown of IGLs, with now Nox starting to run up on VP. Who's going to be able to coordinate their team better as we approach what seems to be an inevitable fight? Moving in from the center of Street Market, we also mentioned that Twisted Minds were likely going to get a zone read that would let them predict where the zone was going better than anyone else. Let's see what they do with that data as we take a quick listen in with Twisted Minds.
I haven't seen where this team came out yet.
This POI has a beacon, I realize. It's not getting hit there.
I mean, we can hit it.
Is it?
Yeah, it should be okay.
Okay, I'm doing it now. If I die, blame me.
Ow. Oh my god.
I die. Yep, beacon.
That's fine. We still have an evac. We still have 2 evacs, and we can like play for a walk up on the side here.
That spot was free earlier. Isn't that playable right there, Ping? I was doing crap. Fuck off.
It's rough. Let me see with my drone. There's a Newcastle team playing it.
Okay. So watch your gen rep.
What, the edge of green? There's a Newcastle team playing like here?
No, you know, they're playing in this corner.
Is there anything playable on that edge? Like on my ping? Like,
I'm dropping down for his battery.
I don't think so, because there's a team playing on my red ping.
There's like nothing like bottom bridge or anything like that?
Well, Twisted Minds trying to find their way from that northwestern side into the best position possible. A lot of teams trying to do exactly that just now, and sometimes you're going to just fight for the same position, and that's where it doesn't go well for Deeds. Rock loses one. Vaxline trying to stay alive here in zone. Looks to hit the med kit, doesn't have enough time, and he's just going to accept his fate. Rock eliminated there, Dia, and one less team for Twisted Minds to worry about.
Hit him with a little salute. Sometimes you know when the game is done, and that unfortunately is going to be here for Rock, and that's still outside of placement point territory. Not going to be collecting much for this second game, despite their win in the first. And you'll have to rely on the buffer that they managed to gather. Knock, relying on that triple take, could go crazy.
Big pickup right there. I loved what I saw. And LG in a position now to make another top 10, but Twisted Minds, for as well as they had hoped to call this zone, it's just going to keep on pulling south. It's set up really well for Falcons, TSM, and CIMJ, but only one little part of those buildings is going to be in this next zone. They could all fight for it. Maybe they could find a corner in each one of their buildings, or maybe this is about to get real bloody real soon, as these teams do not want to share this level of space. Ghostillas will go down. TSM will pull rank first, and Falcons now in the mix with a fight.
Waiting just so as not to get snared. You don't actually want to get stopped on your push to finalize this fight, but it should be one that finishes off soon. Falcons are waiting, knowing that they've still got two teams in the mix here as well. Finishing off TSM would be a nice feather in their cap. They are going to find CIMJ in the toilet, and Jomax going to get naded out of there, no problem. We should see the end of CIMJ momentarily. Zero resetting on the high ground. This is a game of chicken that Falcons are playing with two squads.
I'd have found him hiding in that toilet, but didn't get caught with their shields down. Had the Newcastle ready to go, block a couple of those arc stars. So CIMJ, although they survived that initial onslaught, it's just not going to have enough time to reset. They will fall, and that will be now Falcons and TSM in that same area. So holding high ground and low ground against one another. There's going to be some space. Waltzy going up on top. And just how much of this building is going to be in? That's the question. Up on the north side, though, other questions to be asked. Citadel Gang, Gaming, Ape Gang, and Twisted Minds all having to rotate at the same time. It's going to be an Ash Portal from Albrelelli. That's really the only option. The problem is they're going to potentially run into Flat here, who've been holding down the zone. He's got to find a way. That wall will inadvertently help him shut off a couple of lines of sight. I think his teammates are out for the count, so it's just going to be Al trying to do his best by himself. Disappointing move after really feeling good about where they were positioned earlier on, and the zone is just pulled too far south to keep them all alive.
Yeah, and you know, even when you have as much time as Twisted Minds had to plan to rotate, sometimes it just doesn't feel like you can find a win, especially when playing against some of the best teams in the world. People are going to be looking out for you to make the smart play and get in from the edge of zone, and they know exactly how to stop you. Leave No Witnesses are a team that's managed to get most of the way into zone. So they're currently sitting right underneath LG and Virtus.pro. I do wonder how many of these three teams that are stacked on top of each other are actually going to make it into the next ring, because a lot of people are coming from the northeast.
And that's kind of the problem right here. Most love sitting on bridge to the backside as well. Just keep an eye on them next to Movie Star Koi. They'll have to fight, maybe share a little space, but they are in zone and can look at all this chaos. The teams up above, including LG. Oh boy, it is about to get testy, because they, unlike Most Love, have to go through 8 gang. Virtus.pro, Board, Omit, and the solo rat of Twisted Minds, and not to mention say hello to Leave No Witness and NIP and Flat when they get there.
Omit not going to make it. Remember, we're still keeping track of who comes out in this LG Virtus.pro showdown, and that's while Falcons fight for their very life. Zero gonna be rezzed right now, but the ninjas in pajamas are coming for everyone. And right now, with the Catalyst Wall being the thin thing that separates Imperial Hal from all three of them, we could be saying goodbye to the Falcons in favor of our sleepy sneakers.
Tough stuff for NIP. No way this is going to turn around. Waltzy finds McLovin. Zach finds LG, and then Imperial Hal finds Kurev. Somehow Waltzy
He's crazy.
And Hal turn it around. That Catalyst Wall was huge. Vayne and them on NIP thought that they could push through it, and they just could not. Is Hal going to go down there?
Oh,
yes,
no.
he will. That is just too much damage from the zone, and that will be the end of Falcons. So they will take each other down, Romeo and Juliet style, and find a way to now leave that lobby together. It is unfortunately going to be Flat falling too, and now, yeah, we've only got 6 teams.
You know, I wondered whether Leave No Witnesses would survive. I still hesitate to say that they will. There's no tactical on Panic right now. Taking that, making that portal raw. Does not wait for any safety. Virtus.pro is starting to move up onto the Corinthians as well. They, the big survivors out of this big stack that we have. Leave No Witnesses and LG both. It's Virtus.pro that come out on top. Most loved are going to go down. Top 5 squads remaining.
That's huge. I mean, Movie Star Koi took their spot. We kind of teased that was going to be the conversation around Bridge. Could they share low ground, high ground? There's really not a spot low ground, especially with TSM already there. So that's just a death sentence for them if they try to drop. And TSM, I mean, I kind of like their position here a little bit. They're going to be able to walk in. It just seems like, is there going to be enough chaos in front of them where teams are going to be able to kind of be distracted? Let TSM maybe move on their own, get pressured from other sides. Corinthians, Virtus.pro on that high ground. Leave No Witness as well. Do they try to rotate here as TSM push up?
TSM do recognize the weakness, but they're not able to actually break through Newcastle wall, having to reset on the low ground. But Movistar Koi still getting fried. It's Leave No Witnesses on the reset that take 2 of them down. And TSM get to play small, ignore everyone as Panic swings in and just cooks them alive. This is a really nice way for TSM to be playing, letting Panic and Dupe go off and do their thing. While Movistar Koi and Corinthians go down, 3 squads left. Virtus.pro hitting the res on Zach, and Slayer keeps applying pressure to TSM, but he cannot get too greedy here.
Massive Q from Slayer on Virtus.pro to just avoid that EMP. Dupe had it at 94 in that fight. Finally got it, did an immediate EMP to just discourage Virtus.pro from coming down, but eventually they're going to have to rely on something from their squads. A miracle action, because they are low ground. It is Virtus.pro staring at 2 teams. They're out of resources. They're almost out of time. And Virtus.pro is just going to go on Leave No Witness. So does this open up the door for TSM to actually pull that miracle off?
I think it does. Virtus.pro are still trying to bait this by not committing onto the low ground, by cooking Leave No Witnesses. Zach just walks in and devos 2 of them to the face. TSM now look for the finish. Have Virtus.pro put themselves in a corner. Panic slides up onto the high ground, and from above with the P2020s continues to cook. Slayer, for all his fancy feet, gets into the portal, but he comes out and right into the loving arms of Panic. We're doing this one more time. We're doing the tango, but TSM, they were always winning that second game.
TSM. I said I like their spot. I like their play a little bit more. Finds the kill, and Panic, I'm sure your brother's jumping up and down after that one. Duplex and Jen get the job done. A great showcase here in game 2, and way to kick off match day 5, Dia. I love the decision making. Good timing on that rotate. Maybe, again, a mistake from the team who might have had the best position on high ground in Virtus.pro, a la like we saw in LG the game before. But ultimately, you got to make a call. They made it, and TSM ready to walk in and clean it all up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a difficult decision for Virtus.pro, and looking at that fight, I understand why they did why they did, and I wouldn't even fault them for not being able to pull the first place out of this. It was really nice, patient play from Virtus.pro, from TSM, and from Leave No Witnesses, who, despite having fallen in 3rd, knew that at least their win condition, or their lack of loss condition, was to stay quiet and just hope that the other teams fought, because nobody was breaking through that Leave No Witnesses defense without exposing themselves to a third party.
Well, taking a look at what TSM was able to do, it was a great game. And while you might have said they lost, coming in 19 points total after coming in 3rd, they actually got 2 more kill points over TSM. Movie Star Koi made it into that top 4, a nice 11 for them in match 2, and Corinthians rounding it out with 5 for our top 5. On the other side of things, Liquid Alienware, Fusion, Rock, and CIMJMX, which is crazy because they were a real big part of this lobby up until about 11th spot, where they had to fight with TSM and Falcons, all with goose eggs there on game 2. We'll have to pick it up as we only have 1 more E district left. And Dia, when we look at our overall, it kind of leads us into the conversation of who is in our top 3. Obviously, this last game, though, TSM with the banger and a big 2.3K from Panic, my man.
Real quick here, I just think this is really fun because we were talking about the tie between Ash and Catalyst. It's funny that 1st place has both Ash and Catalyst. 2nd place has none of them. And then we have to go to third place to get the Catalyst ban, which is why Catalyst is banned, because Virtus.pro, best placing team to have only run one of the Legends.
Great call. Thank you for continuing to edify. We were correct in the first way we explained it, but it's good to know that applies for LAN and it applies for our traditional Pro League online split days. Well, there you have it. Rock still on top, 26 points. TSM right behind with 25. Virtus.pro in that final zone earned them enough to get to third place with 20. Board in their first game, keeping them alive with LG at 4th and 5th respectively. Leave no witness, not a lot of kills, not a lot of action in that end zone, but enough to move to 6th. They'll be happy with that if they can maintain it. Maybe all the way down to 10th at Falcons, hanging on. Yet to see that big game from them, Dia, but we all know it's possible.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of teams stay consistent as well. Corinthians and Movistar Koi, 2 games that, well, neither one incredible, managed to keep themselves in the conversation for at least the top 10, top 6 squads, go out around then with a few kill points, and consistency is really important, especially when we're looking at how these teams perform throughout the season to prepare for the regional finals.
Well, regional finals, back half of the season, things just getting more and more intense here at the ALGS. Game 2 is a wrap. One more game on E-District. Catalyst is banned. Let's see what happens after this.
Being called a prodigy isn't easy. The pressure, the expectations. Nah, I'm just kidding. I was born for this. And yeah. The future is here. Are you ready? I've got endless determination, a lifetime of practice, and a total lack of media training. Success, it don't come overnight. Just watch me put up a fight. Locked in, I'm feeling cold as ice. Let's move. I don't know how to slow down. Found my target. Time to say ciao. Doing work on a holdout. It's looking like it's a blowout. More eyes on you means less on me. Putting an audio on top. Making my way up to the top. Sing it out. The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny I'm in the games, I'm on your screens, and now I'm on billboards. Oh, check this out. Che figata! It's looking like it's a blowout. Putting an audio on top. Making my way up to the top. Coming in hot. The first in line, the next in line. I can't deny. Later, champ. Here I go. Do it again. Surprise. Woohoo! I didn't know I'd end up here, but I do know how it ends. Yeah. I've heard losing builds character. Let me know how that goes. Been waiting my whole life for this. Yeah. Been getting so right for this. Hey. Been waiting my whole life. Hey, ragazzi, we did it.
Pay attention.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to the ALGS here in North America. Jamerson has Void Nexus back to us, and that means that we are just in time for game number 3. I'm excited, Jamerson, especially because now we've got 2 really defensive, really reset-oriented Legends taken away. Both Alter and Catalyst gone, leaving us with really just Newcastle if you wanted to start resetting on E-District.
Yeah, kind of change in pace from what we saw from EMEA this morning, right? The Catalyst going down so early on. But the Alter, of course, was no surprise. But I think here in E-District now, things are going to look a little bit more different. So many teams picking up that Catalyst will now not have that option. So I'm kind of excited to see like what we actually get out of our team compositions. Will more new castles come in? Will we see some more aggression finally coming out from our teams? Well, in EMEA, we saw a lot of early use of ballistic and pathfinders. We're not seeing that level of aggression so far coming out from our America region team.
No, right now it has been relatively conservative up until the moment where we see people do full scorpion strikes on each other to take competition out of the lobby, much like we had in this end game. Virtus.pro recognize that they've got to take somebody out and end up going for it. A nice job, by the way, with Leave No Witnesses surviving for as long as they did, pulling up in the second place simply due to Wraith, something that not a whole lot of other people were running. In fact, nobody else in the lobby was running at that point when we got to the top 3. And just being able to dip in and out, tank a little bit of zone damage, out-survive, does get them an extra 2 placement points, which is extremely valuable in the grand scheme of things. As we move into this next game, Wraith still available, something that I would like to see more teams pick up in EMEA. But as we said, Catalyst and Alter not going to be nearly so lucky. And because we had Ashe tied with Catalyst last game, I have to say I suspect that she's going next.
Yeah, we'll see if teams want to pair that with more aggression, if we see the ballistics, if we see more Fuse pickups overall. And I think Fuse might be the pickup, but of course, my love has been with ballistics since his release. And again, I am so happy with the Legend Band system that now we do get to see a lot more of him. Not so far here in the Americas region, but hopefully that does get picked up. And again, I want to see some more aggression out of Americas right now, and hopefully that's what we get here in match number 3.
I suspect we've got some more aggression cooking up, especially in this last game on E-District, then with the transition into Broken Moon, which is completely going to bust playstyles in the game wide open. We'll have an explosion of teams running for points in this game and in the next 2 before game 6. You know, we saw it this morning, Jamerson. Teams like to dial things in and play a little more conservatively to close out their day.
Yeah, and here we are on board with the winners of match number 2, TSM over at Blossom Drive. You have to be careful. There are teams in the area. We got 8 Gang over at Neon Square. We're not going to see the same early aggression that we saw onto Team Falcons earlier on, where they ended up losing out on 1 there on the northern side. But for TSM, they had a really great rotation to get down to Viaduct. We did see, of course, there was a lot of friction. This time around, though, they'll have to navigate a drastically different battlefield, as we're going to get another pull to the north, not over at City Hall, but this time further north of E-Bank.
That'll really favor a team like Twisted Minds, perhaps like Liquid Alienware, who did struggle again, as I highlighted them during the start of the day. Now in game number 2, they did not have a great time. And in game number 3, maybe it's their comeback. And I say maybe because we've always got to give these teams another hope, another chance at life. Well, they're playing Apex. Well, they're not out yet. And we may be saying goodbye to someone. Looking over at LG right now with Nocturnal taking quite a bit of damage. Seems to be out of dash charges as well. He's going to turn around. It is Flatline versus Devo, but Nano simply not connecting with the shots. Is going to have to give this kill up, I think. Nocturnal still goes down. Eagle peeking that. And Nano has to run as well. He gets traded out. And this may have been much too far forward because Nano, he went it alone and LG brought backup.
Yeah, you saw the experience coming out from Nocturnal in that situation, even though he was caught out, right? He found the moments, he found that change in tempo where he was able to turn around to try and dish out some damage, but Q's here with the 1 clip onto Naughty, brings this down to a 2v1.
I mean, you can have as much experience as you want. A 1 clip is a 1 clip. That was gorgeous, and now having it turned around on him is a little bit awkward. Shubi gonna escape into the distance as Louis considers going for the chase, but is instead going to reset. It's a good move from Flat, and I think we all get out. Nope, LG aren't giving it up.
They do have that Ash port to get out, though. Onto the high ground now. Nocturnal tried to find the moment there, but both teams are now just going to have to reconsider for the full reset. Recover the banners, get out, get the res, and just be happy that you both picked up a point at least. It's going to be an overall gain for both squads. They're just going to be slowed down overall. in that rotation to the north side, but it's not the worst thing in the world for either team to be slowed down on their rotates. This ring is going very far north, and they don't have too much in their way. For Omit, though, looking for that early game fight like they like to do.
How do you think Omit is picking their composition right now? Because we started off with Lifeline, Mirage, Alter. Alter got banned, but the Lifeline Mirage mysteriously evaporated back into, I think, a composition that many of our viewers will find much more recognizable.
I'm just wondering if that first composition was that two players were just away from their keyboard at Legend select screen, and that's what they landed on. But yeah, they changed it up really quickly into game number 2. Here in game number 3, though, they will basically run that same comp for NIP. They have found themselves in zone here at Galleria. This is still a toss-up, whether it's going to pull over to Galleria or possibly go over to Lotus. This is a weird trifecta of possible zones, right? Because there's even a chance that it pulls up to the northeast to Electro Dam. For teams like Twisted Minds, for Rock, for Board, they are favoring that Electro Dam side. I'm wondering for Rock if they just decided to pick dead center of the zone to have the options for whatever pull this could be.
Newcastle, while a bit of an awkward spot right now, it is going to be immediately powered up to at least defend Ninjas in Pajamas from any extra aggression, even coming out of things like the Fuse, because it does seem like this is not being given up. The move up from Board, very aggressive, and Ninjas in Pajamas don't actually want the fight. What they'd like is to be left in peace, and that doesn't seem like an option.
Yeah, luckily for them, that was a wide width on the mother load. And so you saw how quickly they decided to pull off from that fight when they just completely whiffed that one. For NIP, though, just holding strong in their position. They've got a big wall to their back, but they have to be careful about teams creeping up from behind them in that Galleria area. A couple teams actually coming from that angle. Possibly Fusion, possibly Movie Star, and along with a few more teams. Board will be the first team knocked out, and it will be Twisted Minds looking to change around the first half in their favor, and that's gonna be a nice +3 for them.
We do still have the chance of eliminating yet another squad. Gent knows it as well as we do. Question is whether he can find it, because we've got a whole lot more information. TSM working together to make this happen. We are at 18 squads so far, but Bursty won't be surviving the next few seconds. Not if Dupe has anything to say about it. Last couple P2020 shots would do it. This TSM hunt down their last kill. We got to start thinking about what their rotation will look like after this as well. With Ape Gang gone, TSM now own the north side of the map.
Yeah, luckily for TSM, there's not really much in the way. So many teams have already made their way into dead center of the zone, and so this will be a free pickup for them, a free +1. They'll also have scans to play off of if they have enough white meds, of course, to tank through all of this. The biggest, I think, question is going to be what Falcons and Omit do. It looked like they were squaring up to possibly fight off against each other, but Falcons is pulling away, might be going for that ring console themselves as we get a better look at this ring. And this is what I was talking about. You had that trifecta of POIs in that second zone. Galleria, along with Electrodam and the Lotus, were available here, and so it could have gone any which way between those 3 POIs. It ends up favoring Lotus, and Rock taking dead center of that zone have that option basically to play all 3. Now we'll see if they want to dip in further, but they don't have the ring console to really give them that confirmation that they need to pull further up to that northern side.
I mean, could be such a huge game for Rock. I know that last game they didn't have what they would have imagined, but with game number 1 going so well in their favor after having a ring that pulls basically on top of them, if they're able to do that again here and have another fantastic game with a zone that pulls near to them, it will demonstrate an incredible amount of control that you need to play at the highest levels of Apex Legends. Yeah, curious whether they'll actually be able to have that, but it's worth noting that we should look out for it.
Yeah, Rock, if they can get themselves into position over there at Lotus, would be huge. We're going to have a number of teams, once they get the ring console scan, really start positioning on the western edge to try and creep their way into the slow side of the zone. So they'd like to be in position early on, especially over at Lotus, but unfortunately, they won't be able to. It's Falcons who were able to get that ring console scan inside of the zone, and now they're starting to move forward. They do have some friction in their way. You can see TSM moving through that choke first. Falcons a little bit slow here on the uptake, unfortunately. We're not able to cut them off, but they might be able to work their way around.
But Alienware's evac seems to keep them safe for now. High ground at Lotus belonging to them is a juicy victory, especially with height and a 30-30 that's got a skull piercer on it. Look what Alienware can be picking up a lot of kills that they unfortunately have not managed to find just yet from this position alone. Virtus.pro going to be their next door neighbors, as well as the Falcons, who just evac'd in behind them. A lot of powerhouse teams actually landing up top here in Lotus.
Yeah, and importantly, I believe Rock saw Virtus.pro going for the evac deep into Lotus, giving them confirmation that this ring is more than likely pulling up north. You have to use those context clues, and they are moving in accordance for that. Going deep now into Lotus, you can see so many teams have started positioning themselves. A good IGL will be able to note that and make the proper moves for themselves, as we still have a huge pileup of squads coming in from that southeast side of the zone, LG being one of them. They might be gate capped here. Shubi taking so much damage from Huzier.
Unlikely to be recoverable with LG being so far out in the open. Out goes the Ash Portal, which goes a surprising distance. Shubi's gonna take that. And a reset is happening for LG, despite all my doubts. Zone still closing in on them, though. And Naughty, able to get over to the rest of the squad, gives LG an unexpected second shot at life with the zone now on top of them. You don't out-heal this one.
Yeah, this was what, round 3 between LG and Flats, and of course you note that coming from similar portions of the map that they would run into each other once again. It's just very unfortunate for LG that they might be stuck out here in the ring taking so much damage. Their white health meds might run a little bit low before they have a chance to find safety inside the zone. Getting a better look, another hard pull into Lotus. It will continue to go that way. Rock hasn't made their move quite yet, but again, they know that teams opted to go deep into Lotus. They should move for that. Otherwise, they're playing for KP here on the outer edges. They might feel safe in being able to play safer into the edge of the zone on the next pull, but putting yourself at risk of 6-7 teams dropping on you is a little bit scary. TSM, though, getting fought right now by Most Love. They will be able to dissuade that push, finish them off, and secure their spot inside Lotus.
And will Most Loved go down? CIMJ MX and LG take a fight with each other. That's 2 members of LG down, not to be recovered, and CIMJ MX do win the fight momentarily. Again, still curious about whether they'll actually be able to make their way into zone. That's for any team that is currently outside of it, because it just does so much damage. Evac tower is going to be just in time. There's only 5 seconds left until the zone really, truly starts punching you in the face.
I was wondering if they were going to be able to recover enough economy off of LG there, but they had plenty of health and meds in tow. Shubi now left to try and wrap this one out. He is all out of meds. He's only got bats to work with here. Luckily for him, he's at least on that purple, but again, he's not out of danger yet. The direction he's running in, he's got Twisted Minds. He's got Citadel right on top of him, but Citadel are forced back. Never mind, Shubi's been spotted, and they are on the hunt.
Mav looks for him. Mav pretty low as well. Citadel do not want to get knocked here, and I like the early portal out from Mav, prioritizing playing his own life above anything else. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for them, and Citadel put themselves right in the line of fire of Twisted Minds. An unlucky gamble doesn't go their way, but LG aren't the winners either, being taken down immediately afterwards by Movistar Koi.
They were at least able to rat out LG were to placement points. Even though it's just 1, it's better than nothing, especially with the start that they had to the game, and especially there in the mid game where they end up getting caught out once more by Flat. Now here, Movie Star Koi pushing forward to try and get deeper into the zone, but they've got Rock in front of them who have not moved away. And so we'll see if this Wraith can get them past, but you can see the Cat's Cradle of Watson fences here as Blinkster gets chased down. He will be able to port back and keep himself alive. Rock will be playing the gatekeepers here on the southeast side with Deeds on that Watson, proving valuable with those fences.
Yeah, that is a crazy Wraith portal to now have right next to you as well. Rock know that there's going to be at least one team that needs to rotate through them, but to say it's just one would be lying to themselves a bit. Rock should know that there are so many squads that come from this southeast that need to go through the one choke point they control. We should see evac towers, we should see ash ults, we should see everything in the kitchen sink thrown at Rock, and the question really has to be how on earth they survive it.
Yeah, they're making their move finally deeper into the ring, but again, they don't have that next ring scan, so they don't know how deep they need to go. They will go basically into the Falcons building here, who are currently taking a fight, or peeking at least, but it's Omit up against Flat. It's a 1-for-1 exchange, but RKN will be able to get the res onto Sang here, and now help with the reset. QZR once again with the one clip onto RKN, and that's Omit getting cleaned up by Flat.
He just keeps serving them up. 2 1-clips back to back on Sang and RK on QZR seems untouchable this game, especially on the Ash. His movement just so good, and the aim, the tracking even better. Twisted Minds, they got a rat play cooking for him. Enemy do throw out the ult immediately. Mother to Load doing a lot of work, and Knuckle Cluster following it up as well. This should be a team wipe, and I say should because Kimchi has just gone down. January going to try and flank, keep the team alive, as Twisted Minds do lose all of their shields. Maybe the knock on Kimchi is enough. Do they get aggressive on this once again? January not going to get caught, but the zone doing Twisted Minds work for them. Does grab the dash.
There was no reason to chase after this one right now. Job is done as they were able to lay that trap for Fusion, and they'll be able to pick up the additional loot. I believe Kimchi had the gold armor on himself as well. CIMJ MX were able to make their way dead center of the zone, sharing a building right now with Leave. No witnesses on the other side. Here comes the EMP just to try and slow them down, make sure they do not get pushed, but CIMJ MX will go ahead and pop out of their position here in that momentary lapse of aggression.
Virtus.pro still holding things down right behind them as well. TSM getting aggressive. January going to be focused down on Fusion. Do fall, the last member of Fusion to escape the Twisted Minds rat play. TSM have a little bit of time to reset, hopefully reclaim some height and control of this lobby as well, because right now being on the low ground is going to be difficult for them as this mass exodus from the center of Lotus occurs. Twisted Minds, big portal into the building of Lotus. Could be the portal that ends their game. There's only 8 seconds left on this zone close. TSM gonna fight Rock?
Yeah, I'm so confused by that decision to push into the building. Jaguars gets the knock onto Albraleli. Twisted Minds had the option to just walk into zone. Corinthians weren't looking at them whatsoever. We'll see if they can go for the reset. TSM, though, were able to maneuver their way out of that building, but they put themselves right next to VP. And they are not safe in zone. That's TSM. Virtus.pro do have purchase in that spot right now, but we'll see for how long as Team Liquid Alienware also encroach on their building.
Liquid Alienware have height. What else have they actually got, though? Not a lot of kills coming to them in the first or the second game. Twisted Minds taking them out from up on the ultimate high ground. That's the play, and with Liquid Alienware down, Twisted Minds know that they can inherit this whole spot, all this loot, and keep the high ground over everyone else they had.
Wow. To be able to recover after that move and then basically crisscrossed your way across the map into a very strong position. Twisted Minds having so much tenacity in that scenario now, getting aggressive. The no-scope from Alb as Twisted Mind continue to push forward.
Does he have another one? Not too much energy ammo left for this guy, although Alb will pick some up off the bodies. One shot left in the Kraber. What's he gonna do with it? Looking for an angle to find the team fight right now. Movistar Koi right underneath him. Won't quite hit the shot onto Zach Mazer, but the Devo should get the job done. Albralele comes in, secures the kill, takes out Virtus.pro, and retreats back to the team as enemy ignores all caution, throws it to the wind, and jumps down just to throw a motherload in their face. Corinthians go down, Movistar down. And this building has become an unruly one, with it everyone else is just watching the fights happening. Leave no witnesses, Twisted Minds, TSM, all piled in here. Well, CIMJ just look on, while Rock look on and go, well, I hope they don't come our way.
Rock are able to get the reset there, get their third back on in. Twisted Minds, though, with the reset. Albralele, the Devo, cleaning things up. But we'll see if they get the res. It looks like enemy will be able to stick this one out. And now there's a lot more room for Twisted Minds to play off of. We're coming down to our final few squads as TSM left with just one player remaining. That's going to be Duplex there. Rock, though, have all of that north side. They are stuck on the low ground here, but it's Twisted Minds basically stuck on the high ground with Leave No Witnesses here. And Rock, if they can apply the right pressure onto Twisted Minds, you might be able to force them into a fight up against Leave No Witnesses. They are starting to position, try and find that angle. The Twisted Minds, they have been sending every single fight so far.
I mean, this has been the Albralele show basically all game. Some crazy plays out of this guy, the Devo, singing in his hands, with Leave No Witnesses again forced to play small while another team shoots them from above. They got second place out of it last time. Will this one be as good for them? Now with plays like that, Zell gonna go down, Ren and Tricky gonna go down, and it's Twisted Minds that have the high ground on Rock as they are our last two teams left. Enemy drops in, Devo once again cleaning up another squad and putting Twisted Minds in the forefront of the E District.
I mean, you were talking about that Devo singing, but really it was just a Rock ballad coming out from Albralele there. And again, importantly, it was that heads up play coming out from Alb, checking the angle, making sure that Rock weren't able to encroach upon them. And that forced Rock back into that very vulnerable spot where now it left Leave No Witnesses with the only option to just jump down, because who really wants to stand in the way of a Twisted Mind squad that is firing on all cylinders?
That was trickle-down economics right there. You got Twisted Minds shooting Leave No Witnesses, and Leave No Witnesses then go to Rock, and then Twisted Minds get to come in and ultimately profit. That was fantastic play from Twisted Minds to apply pressure in the right places, and of course, that Devo that we talked about looked really, really good. I want to see how it turned out in the points for these squads as well, because Twisted Minds got a lot of kills that game, being the kings of the chaotic building we saw earlier.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. But we had, of course, another person on desk, or in the waiting in the wings, Rain Day. What did you see there in the late game for match number 3?
Well, I think you got it wrong, Dia. It's not trickle-down economics. It's trickle-down alb-onomics, okay? Twisted Minds and Albralele always find a way to put this back and forth kind of cascade element into the game coming through once they make a decision. And when it happens like that, that's them at their best. 28 points. They make you run. They make another team run because they made another team run before that. And then they show up and Alb is able to be set free. And I can't wait to see them continue this pace. It was the team I highlighted, and I said, I want to see these guys make some adjustments from match day 4. Well, certainly they have there. We're waiting for them to show up. I'll take later than better than never. So good job, Twisted Minds. Rock, Leave No Witness, TSM, and CIMJMX. I love the bounce back there because they were a big feature in game 2. Didn't get enough points for it. And now in game 3, bounce back with 13. Pretty exciting stuff, guys. Let's take a look at some of the stats, though. Dio, walk me through your interpretation of how these teams perform. What stands out to you as we see a little bit of our top 3 broken down even more?
I mean, Twisted Minds are always going to be the highlight of this game, just with the incredible amount of damage that they were able to do. And looking a little further down, I am noticing Leave No Witnesses once again. Brenner Tricky really the anchor of the squad, and it shows in the stats as well. Keeping things relatively passive, but just providing support for the whole team is exactly the stability that's gotten Leave No Witnesses into the top 3 now twice in a row.
And Jamerson, obviously Rock is a team that's been performing really solidly. And it's a perfect segue because they're at the top of the leaderboard overall. This is a team we also highlighted, and look at them. They have shown up big time.
Yeah, this is what we talked about at the top of the show for the Americas region, right? Rock with Saucer coming in is always able to convert on a zone pull extremely well. This one was a little bit more questionable for them, right? Because they were dead center of zone early on, but they were able to navigate that one into at least the top 3 for themselves. The big question was, how many more kill points were they going to be able to pick up? They were in a position there on the southeast side of ring number 4 to really be able to play gatekeeper, but they opted for a safer play. Well, I say safer until they ended up basically maneuvering themselves into that northern building with Falcons, with TSM, with so many other squads, but they did navigate that one extremely well to convert into a top 3.
Well, you know, we've had so much fun watching these first 3 games, but as we do in the ALGS, you need to give the players a little bit of time to reset, bio break, get their heads ready as we swap maps and get into the back half of match day 5. But that also means that we have time here on the desk, the digital desk, to have some conversations. The most important conversations, the ones that are deep, the ones that kind of keep us up at night, you know, keep us going throughout the day, that you think of in the moments that matter. It's our hot takes, everybody. We got to get into the hot takes. There's no hot sauce here, but it should be fiery, should be peppery. And I think it's my time to go first. Jamerson, you're going to be a little bit of our moderator here, and sit back and relax. Me and Dia, we got some takes for you. I'll go first. Okay, mine is overpowered. God releases, legend releases, weapon releases are good for the game. Now, all you worry words might get mad because you remember back when the bow check got released, that just was a terrible sound that gave you nightmares whenever you heard one of those arrows slinging around, hitting for what, 110 back to back? But guess what? You know the bow check because of that. I mean, how long did it take to get the P2020 in Mozambique in competitive play? Heck, casual play. Well, they had to add 2 of them and then make them so that they killed you in 2 seconds. Now, they're the only thing we see in Pro League. The best part about it is just acknowledging the hubris of us as humans. We're not going to balance it perfectly, so it's either going to be a little underwhelming or it's going to be a little overwhelming. Aim on the overwhelming side every time, guys, because then more people play it, you know how to nerf it, and at least we get to talk about it. There's nothing worse than being a caster and a player and going, man, no one's playing the new legend. No one's playing the new weapon. I'm tired of it. Overpowered releases, and you need to understand this community, are great for the game. They get you playing, they get you talking, they get the data, and then we really know what to do with it. Come on now.
You know what? I completely agree, because I mean, we saw an era where that just didn't happen, right? With Ballistic, with Conduit, and with Mad Maggie. We didn't see too much of an uptick at all, if whatsoever, of those legends coming into play initially. But right now, Sparrow getting the initial pickup here so early on, what, only 3 weeks after release? I agree. I'm with you there. Now, Dia, all right, how about you?
Okay, mine, I don't even know whether it's more far-fetched or not. My hot take is that people are too uptight about scrims. They think they should be this magical thing that's exactly like you playing for $3 million, and it's not. Scrims are better. Scrims are the mental game. If you're inching in scrims, if you're a team that's not afraid to sprint at people and kill them, live or die yourself, that is sending a message, and that message pays off in the $1 million tournaments. You want to actively be the most aggressive, craziest team that you can, so that when you get to $1 million tournament, people look at you and go, actually, that team is kind of crazy. I would rather stay away from them for now. The benefit of that is also that you get incredible practice team fighting at disadvantaged situations. You get great practice, and you scare people away from you.
You know what? I like that. It's kind of like the reverse psychology, right? If you want to have like an easy rotate in, you just play crazy enough. You have the crazy eye so that people know to avoid you. I like that a lot.
Nobody wants to fight with the team with the crazy eyes. You already know. Like, Dia, I love the approach. Chat, let us know who took this round of it, or if you like both takes, let us know. Of course, this is all for your fun and edutainment, and we keep it interesting here during halftime. But that's it for hot takes this time around. We'll see you next week as we continue this one on. However, guys, I will say that there's a few things that people who are catching up with us, and now that we have this little time, haven't maybe noticed around the ALGS scene, from pros to new features to new opportunities for them to engage in the community a little bit differently, or just keep up with the latest and greatest. So that's why we wanted to introduce a segment called What You Might Have Missed. It's just a way for us to kind of hit some of the big picture things that you guys can now, looking at it, go, oh, wow, maybe I wasn't following that new website that comes up and shows me this. Maybe I didn't realize there was this funny clip that happened that everyone's been talking about. It is what we want to do to kind of bring you up to news. And guess what? If you don't see it in this clip or these sections, let us know in chat. Like, what should we be talking about? What needs to be the hot topic? Fire at us on X at Play Apex Esports. We might include it into next week. But first off, this week, we want to talk about kppoll.com, the world rankings. This website has been fantastic. If you go to kppoll.com, you'll actually have a chance. You might see this Twitter post every now and then, but if you actually go, each week they update it with votes on who is the best performing team across all regions heading into the weekend. It gives you a lot of information, especially if you missed the weekend beforehand. Twisted Minds, by the way, on that poll, jumped up 16 spots. That's the team who just won and got 28 points. So is it worth it? You let us know. But kppoll.com, honestly, an awesome resource. Very, very cool. And I'm sure that it's going to be one of those that, Dia, we're using frequently as casters as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great to be able to create more storylines and, in a way, create some adversity around these players, right? Because Twisted Minds, just as an example, are sitting there, they're playing their games. Maybe they're not creating that much drama, but if suddenly they jump 16 spots, that's a big story in the public eye that we get to then bring into and talk about on the cast. So I really appreciate having more sources of what people are thinking about the game, what people are thinking about our players, because it lets us tell the stories better.
Speaking of stories, I mean, there's a cool bit of content that just came out for 100 Thieves. They did a documentary on their journey to the ALGS Open. Obviously, with this new iteration of the roster, there's been a lot of conversation around them, whether the high expectations got to them, what it felt like behind the scenes. How was it putting together probably the two most famous engaged families in our league, the Jen Burton squad and the Verhul squad, adding Bronzy and figuring out moments where they can be successful. There's a lot to digest in this, and 100 Thieves does a great job of doing it. So that QR code in the top right, there's something great about it. Just open your phone, your device, and it'll take you straight to that video. So pretty exciting stuff. And obviously, you know, gives you a look at the personal side of things, which to me, Dia, is a big element of just getting more and more connected to our scene and understanding why some of those kills, those rotations matter the most.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed watching the 100 Thieves doc, because like you said, it lets us connect even more. Now, sometimes you want to connect in a sort of hopeful way. You want to see the rise of a team. Sometimes, I talked about this earlier with the drama, you want to laugh a bit. And Vaxlon, you know, he got a little personally attacked this week, and I got to say, I enjoyed it. Let's take a look.
Yep, it's.
That's a lot. I just got. Oh my.
I'm porting.
Pouring.
They're dying. Nice. Full team at the building. I have to bet again. I have no bats. I don't bats. How?
Yeah, what?
Bats.
I get that. Like, that's happened to me where I hit a shot and I just laugh, because it's hilarious that happened to someone.
And you have to take a moment like that for Hal to give up his last bat as well. So like, he was so distracted with the shot. He was like, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and have my last bat.
Sure,
here you go.
That's so funny. I mean, it was also great just to see the like, I can't do anything about this. And we actually, I think, saw Vaxlon die to the zone the exact same way, where he just stopped running earlier today and just said, yeah, I'm dead. So he's had a couple of those moments. Poor Vaxlon. We need to get him up on the top. Good thing Rock is doing so well today.
Yeah, there were a few moments for them yesterday. I believe there was another one where also I think Deeds got completely demolished by a nade and he was sent flying. It looked like it was the Octane Gauntlet all over again. But speaking of nades, we had, of course, Wig always on the B stream, always doing the watch parties, was able to catch out a great moment through our matches yesterday. And it goes to show really how great our community is, how great the voice actors really behind the scenes as well, that were able to contribute to this because we have a huge nade spam in store for you. And luckily for us, we weren't left with just the same voice line of nade out, nade out, nade out, because our voice actors put in work. So let's go ahead and check out this clip.
Full kill? No, enemy's still up, actually. Holy shit. And he hits.
Not right there.
And he hits. And he hits. Holy. Oh my fuck. Oh my god.
No, what did you swing?
Oh my god. Enemy is insane.
That was actually crazy. There goes me frag. I mean, my goodness. Guys, that was a lot of fun. That's what you might have missed this week. Let us know if there's anything you think we should have included or what you would like us to include next week. Make sure to follow up with us at PlayApexEsports.com. Dia, you've done all those games now, and halftime gave the players a little break. Now it's time you take a break yourself. And Jamerson and I have game 4. See you soon. All right, Jamerson, here we go, getting ready to kick it off. I mean, game 3, you guys were just casting it. It turned into the Twisted Mind show. But I also just think the other big story is some of these teams we highlighted, they really have shown up as almost if to answer the call. The benefit of their quick adjustment from yesterday's performances that maybe weren't what they wanted is that they're played back to back. They don't have to stretch this information out, this process out, this coaching instruction out from week to maybe even 2 weeks, right? They can just go the very next day, know they have to stay locked in and make the adjustments. And we're seeing it for Twisted Minds and Rock as we head here into game, get ready to go into game 4.
Yeah, big thing about year 5 was the discussion early on about the turnaround time for a lot of things, right? Because as we started off the split, we had LAN right around the corner for Open, and then after LAN, only a few weeks later, we're right back into the game, and some squads are doing the double headers, and so it's kind of crazy how much we're actually putting our players through the ringer at this point. But again, with the level of competition consistently getting higher, you need to be able to keep up to pace. And so I'm glad to see so far that, a lot of the teams that we have the high expectations for are living up to them.
And that is a great point. Expectations typically drive just the way that people view the results that happen here. I mean, there could be a very decent day, a decent performance, but because it's Falcons and they're not first place, they've dealt with that this entire season and this entire year they've been together. It's just not good enough. No longer having to answer to that as the current Open champions and current LAN champions, but for teams like Twisted Minds, high expectations. They're in 3rd place, looking pretty good. TSM also a team that I've really enjoyed. I feel like they found a lot of good spots to play in E-District. Can they do it now in Broken Moon as we get a top-down view over our map, Jamerson, and it shows us a southeast circle near Bionomics, where it'll end.
Yeah, NIP are already in position for it. Movistar moving forward as well. Corinthians, who have not been able to really convert into a lot of these late game scenarios, might be able to do so here. For CIMJMX, though, they find themselves in an early fight. And of course, it's Omits who have been the aggression kings in the early game in this lobby reign all day long.
Yeah, Omid obviously had a lot of things to prove as well. Saying Cody and RKN back in. He took a break to start his family, but having such a great piece of momentum occurred during the Open. It's put Omid into a different level of conversation. Now feeling confident. And speaking of those characters we don't see very often, well, you know why they're so confident with those early game fights? They got a conduit. They're all working on 50 or so extra shields per fight without having to heal.
It's conduit ballistic, by the way. So talking about advantages in team fights, that is a huge advantage there as Corinthians. Looks like they will be able to finish off Blinkster from Movistar Koi. And now Omits looking to finish things off with CIMJMX, eliminating them first from the lobby, and Movistar Koi will follow them. We'll see if Omits will continue on their reign of aggression there on the south side, but for Leave No Witnesses, they're still dealing with teams funneling in. They've got Corinthians to their south right now, but it does seem like the action will abate and they won't be able to maintain this position. Again, taking another look at Rock, they are having to rotate through a lot of teams here through Atmos Station. They're getting flanked right now by another squad. Saucer having to set up here with this drone. We'll see if they can spot out the teams in time. It does seem like, though, they will be giving some space and they'll be able to hit that survey beacon to make their next move.
And they have, like you had mentioned, across the speed and opportunity with the ballistic, what that can provide. They'll have that access to, and a little bit more stabilization and information here with the crypto. Those EMPs proving to be more and more vital as you're seeing more and more Watsons kind of get picked up here in these areas. Obviously, it is not the same type of traditional map. Seeing no World's Edge, seeing no Storm Point, it's a change for these players, but it's a change they've taken on willingly, and it's made for some continued interesting lineups there. As boy, Fusion trying to get off to the races. They seem like they tripped at the starting line, and Dan Mantic, Kimchi, January just haven't been able to get anything here. Start of Broken Moon, could this prove impactful to them as they try to head on these zip rails towards the northern side of zone and find a spot too?
Game number 3 could have been Fusion's kind of pop-off moment, right? They were able to secure themselves a mythic bin. We saw Kimchi coming in, I think, with the Kraber, with the red armor, but Twisted Minds still sitting on blue Evos were able to lay that trap for them and, of course, steal away all that loot once they were able to clean them up and then utilize that to snowball their way into a huge win in game number 3. I mean, the things that could have been for Fusions here, but now they're sitting on 2 points. It's very difficult for them to really try and bounce back from that kind of mental boom. TSM, though, looks like Panic leading the charge on that Pathfinder. We all know how hard it is to catch up to a Pathfinder, and Duplex is trying his best, and he will ultimately do it. But yeah, TSM now moving on in. Looks like a clear path for them. Duplex will have, of course, that crypto to give them that early information, but they're trying to move around, I think, flat on the northwest side of the zone, really dealing with that here in quarantine zone right now. And it's not just flat. Omid are also in the area. Omid are on the hunt for more and more fights.
When you run a lobby, a team in a lobby like this that is as aggressive as that, well, you definitely need to find a fight. Omid and TSM could just be about to clash. And you can see that Thermite into that Rampage. No ultimate needed for that weapon to be just as vital. And Omid, they find him. Sang already shooting a few bullets from the Spitfire, which I am a big fan of this season. Really loving the way that they've treated a lot of the weapon adjustments here. And Rampage Spit, that's going to be hard, especially if they get the first shot. But TSM is wise and aware of the situation. They take high ground as soon as they can, come through zone. A couple of shots just to force them away. Sang takes too much damage and says, I don't want this fight just yet. And TSM will be able to move on.
Yeah, great heads up there from Omid. They realize instantly, oh yeah, this is a terrible position for us, and back away from that fight. They almost had TSM split up, and they were trying to kind of divide that fight into an easy 1v3, but they were able to get duped back into them. But TSM aren't out of the fire quite yet. You can see that they're still rotating into Virtus.pro, who had a far rotation themselves. So we'll see who gets the drop here. VP take the first shots onto TSM, but they are fighting at an Evo disadvantage at this point. Panic is looking for an angle onto them right now. You can see they are more than comfortable with this fight. Air nade out from Panic to get possibly an opening, but they are safely within the building. Virtus.pro are just going to go ahead and back away from this fight. Just before, when we were taking a look at that map feed, we saw a lot of teams already moving their way into Bionomics. We'll go ahead and go into that split between Bionomics and Divide. The ring console scan there for TSM will give a lot of information if VP can shadow them in a way. Let's go ahead and listen with VP, who were not able to pick up the scan themselves because of the pressure from TSM.
We're doing the XP and then we were going to get it, but it's fine. We have a distribution in front of us. It worked out in our favor.
Yeah.
And this way, can I even hit that? Yeah, I can hit that recon too. I don't think we should hit this the fucking zip rail.
Yeah.
He's holding it by himself, fully alone. Oh, by himself.
Get the XP. I mean, this is.
Did you just like sort of run at him while I'm grabbing the XP?
Yeah, we just run at this guy.
They're turning around.
No, he's still there.
Yeah, they're turning around.
Teammates are coming back though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna fight.
He doesn't know you guys are close. I'm batting right now. I'm a little bit
We need
far.
to fight this guy now, Slayer.
Yep.
To get space forward loop.
I'll use passive if you want to, guys.
He's close. He's outside.
Yeah, one guy's on the other side. I'm fighting the guy on the roof. We're fine. They're ballistical. I'm fighting right now. Yeah, they're all here. They're all here.
It's revolted. I'm pulling back a little bit. Zach.
I fuse ult to roof, guys.
I'm playing on my ult.
I'm pumping cells.
On low ground.
Swing your right.
I'm okay. He's 120. I'm one.
Batting.
Inside.
Guys, come on. Play on move. Crack. Zip.
Bro.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
zip on me.
Play it. Swinging. Taking the res inside. You can see it from inside.
Climbing.
Taking the res.
Slayer about to go down here, and he does. Virtus.pro thought they had the jump on Falcons, and Falcons experience just knows. They saw the scan, Jamerson, and they said, someone knows I'm ISO by myself. You guys got to come back. They might be trying to push off this, and that's exactly what they did. And Zero clutches it up for the squad, sends Zach Mazer back in, and the rest of Virtus.pro here in game 4.
There were a lot of points in that fight as well that VP could have just pulled off. They did not need to commit to that one whatsoever. As soon as they called out that the Ballistic Tempest went out, that should have been the fight called for you right there. You didn't have an overwhelming HP advantage in the fight. You didn't open up with, you know, a crack on a shield. That ballistic ultimate goes down, you know you are at a disadvantage in the fight. You don't have a ballistic yourself. You can just go ahead and call it there, back away. You didn't commit onto that. So unfortunately, VP just overcommitted onto the fight, allowing Falcons to take that team fight win. Now they have a really strong position here to walk this one through. For Falcons, though, I mean, this could be now their bounce back moment. They didn't have a great start when we were on E District. You can see that they did just pick up another 3 KP along with placement points. So it's saying a lot that, you know, they were able to basically advance their points overall by another 25% on the day. So for Falcons here, this is going to be a great way for them to try and bounce back unless Zero takes a ton of damage.
I love the conversation here around which weapon to use. Zero's opted for the Devotion when the Tempest comes through. Waltzy has a Devotion himself, and so this is going to be really crazy. It's going to allow for Hal, if he's doing his job right, to take these off angles, hopefully have pressure, but he will not be able to withstand this one. Falcons, just like Virtus.pro, bite off more than they can chew, and Flat do a phenomenal job of holding them off. And now here Rock, kind of the last team to the party, get all the spoils, all the loot, and all the ability to walk in, as that's just 1 down of Flat, 2 down for Flat, and looking to be a 3rd real soon. It's Flat. Yes, Flat.
Rock really displaying the strength of Ballistic here. You pop that Tempest, you've got the Rampage all charged up. Doors, again, already in this meta with Alter around, were already just kind of, you know, an idea, right? And you see how quickly they are made paper thin by that Rampage all charged up. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Nothing can slow you down. Rock with a great spot now, but they do have to worry. TSM are waiting in the wings. You can see already up top, just a couple seconds away, and there we go. EMP popped onto Panic. That's a huge connection for Rock there to try and possibly dissuade this, but a counter EMP, never mind, gets cleared out there as Vax gets a knock. This is huge for Rock.
This team has just found their rhythm, and they are not letting it go. Vaxlon's had too many clips. Him getting bullied, grenaded up into the air, shot from Falcons, and he returned the favor back to Hal with a little clip of his own, and 3 extra KP to keep that first place lead extended. 12 squads left. Rock playing the Edge Masters. You've got Corinthians, Leave No Witness, Liquid Alienware, and Citadel Gaming as well, trying to compete, but on the northern side, fully separated. Rock, who will they run into, though? It's going to be Omit. Omit and Board, most likely, as they try to navigate themselves towards that southern side of zone. It's going to be an interesting question because they've gotten here, but this is not going to be an easy push. And remember how aggressive Omit were in the beginning. Jamerson, they're going to keep that aggression? Or are they going to try to meet Rock out there and hold them out? Or are they just content to stay in that building? I don't know. Well, we're about to find out.
Luckily for Rock, though, they don't have to commit onto anything up against Omit, right? Or any gatekeepers. They do have an evac tower to utilize here, and I think they will have to go for it. They've got 8game looking to, of course, gatekeep them. Liquid Alienware fighting up against Citadel here on the northern side. See how close it was for the Airburst nade to connect onto them, but it looks like Liquid Alienware will be able to just stabilize here on the rooftop as Citadel utilize the rest of the building to try and creep on in, but they still have to deal with each other on this run-in.
One of the stories that we had to keep you aware of here, Omit was actually sitting with just Crypto. One player. Rock, had they made their move there, would have been great, but they found a way to get the banners and revive. So Omit now is a full 3, and we'll see if they can make things difficult. Kuzme finds Cody already. Team Liquid Alienware goes down as well to CTG, and Yanya now making his portal, trying to fire back with the B20s. He'll lose out to McLovin. Ooh, easily with that devotion, that rampage, backing him up. The Havoc on the side of Vayne, too, will be able to hold it out. Rock still alive. They found their way in zone, and an NIP up on the high ground with Kurev and a 30-30 in sight, trying to stop anybody from approaching. That's including Citadel Gaming and Leave No Witness, which are right behind them.
Yeah, NIP showing us why it's so important to get early center zone on Bionomics. You can see the killing fields out there. Landing 1,000 poppies for all of the dead bodies. Liquid Alienware will be the next team gone now here. Top 9. Importantly, we were talking about that reset coming out from Omit, but we saw a lot of pressure coming out to them on that res that allowed Rock to maintain a very strong position now outside of Corinthians and Ape Kings building, but it's NIP now trying to hold off Citadel. Luckily for them, of course, NIP were able to do damage onto Citadel on their walk-on in, so they have a pretty decent idea of what they're fighting up against. But now with Citadel moving around, NIP might be left into a pinch with Leave No Witnesses still maneuvering their way on that northern side.
Leave No Witness trying to just find themselves a little bit of respite, a space, a place to call home. It's not going to happen easily with NIP and Corinthians up on height here. And Rock fighting for the low ground against them. Twisted Minds hanging out in the back as well. Let's not forget. Big 28-point game, trying to follow up on it. It's Rock and Deeds who come popping through. It's Sorcerer with the cleanup there. 6 assists for Sorcerer on the Crypto. Over 1,000 damage here for Deeds and 5 kills to his name. Rock having a lights out show here in game 4. Just need to close it out if they can. Now with only a few teams remaining, I think we've got 6 in the lobby here. Make it 8.
Yeah, Rock saw what Twisted Mind did in last game, and they don't want to be outdone here as LG get eliminated by Citadel Gaming, bringing us down to our top 7. But it's Twisted Minds who are able to find themselves dead center of the zone right now. They can try and possibly peek out, get an angle onto Citadel Gaming as they go for the reset, but for Twisted Minds, they're playing this one conservatively. They can go for the angle right there, but that's what happens when you start getting challenged. Bursty dropping down on them as well. And that's going to be a knock on to Future. Pluto Reality trying its best to hold out, but it looks like Ape Gang and Twisted Mind might be able to finish them off.
Tough stuff. Blue Reality. He's not liking the way this looks for him. Citadel Gaming will go Owl, but it's not for lack of trying. Great approach there. Vaxlon indeed still alive here for Rock. They've kind of been one of the main protagonists in this game story so far. Get Sorcerer back up and gonna hold this. A beautiful Whistler, Knuckle Cluster, and potentially an EMP to zone out some teams. Twisted Minds, though, 48 points. Second place, and the only team in front of them is Rock. They're still alive with 52, but it's going to be a battle for first and second if it continues this way. We're already top 5, and Alberlelli, he's got a lot to work with here.
Yeah, and they've got the crypto drone flying out for Crook, keeping an eye on the entire battlefield here. Twisted Mind know they might have another win in the bag as Deeds cleaning things up with the R9. They end up losing out on Arena Tricky though. NIP trying to push forward here. They have to battle this one out, but now they're getting pressured with the zone closing in behind them. Albralele gets involved in the fight, bringing us down to our final 4 squads as that rat ends up getting cleaned up. Leave no witnesses fall. Twisted Minds, can they do it once again, Rain?
2,000 damage, 8 kills for Sir Albralele. We said it wasn't trickle down economics, it was trickle down albinomics, and it's looking like that yet again. Twisted Minds take the game, and they submit first place after game 4.
It's still extremely close, but Twisted Minds did everything right. 2 dubs for them back to back. I believe they might actually be tied overall in points, but it's the overall performance. It's that nasty 18 kill game or 16 kill game in game number 3 there for them. That will give them that slight edge up against Rock Esports.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's starting to feel like, I believe it was 16 kills. It's starting to feel like they have picked up momentum, and it is going to be very hard to stop them, Jamerson. I think this is one of those things the lobby is scared to see, because it's not just E-District, it's Broken Moon Down as well. They're playing well, they're getting aggressive. He talked about why they were so good, which is why in finals, I went with them. I thought they might be able to do it. They were still a very, very good team, one of the best teams who performed at the Open, but it's because Crook is a god at calling zones. It frees up enemy, it frees up Alb to do the things that Alb should be doing. 8 kills, I mean, 2,000 damage, that is ridiculous in just one game. ROC, Big Rock, they did everything they could. They stayed real close behind, so a 20-point game, nothing to be upset about. NIP leave no witness board, round out our top 5, Jamerson, as this is what it looks like after game 4.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much more aggressive a team like Rock has to play than they're used to, right? They are very used to being able to play center zone and letting the points come to them. This time around, they have to be more proactive just to keep up pace, or at least try to keep up pace with Twisted Minds right now. And take a look at this breakdown, Rain Day, between the 2 teams. They've got 63 kills combined, but it's edged out by Twisted Minds right now with 3 additional kills.
I mean, I think last game or last in EMEA, we had maybe 6,000 damage across one of our leading team's players over 6 games. So a little bit like 1,000 damage per game on average. Alb, he's got about 4.2 thousand damage in the last 2 games. So if he keeps that pace up, that's looking at 12,000 damage. He's nearly doubling some of our top performers individually right now. He is on fire, and it's clear to see why these 2 teams, these 6 gentlemen, are the ones to beat. As you said and did on the fly, Jamerson, it's first place for Twisted Mind, but it's a shared first place so far. 60 points for 2 teams. Boy, it's rare to see 2 teams run away with it and be having their own battle at the top. Normally it's 1 team and the rest are pretty clumped up, but I mean, this is looking like these last 2 games, it's gonna be fireworks.
Yeah, big, I think point you need to look at right here is just the difference in the kill points and the placement points, right? Rock very much more oriented towards playing that center zone and converting off of the ring pulls coming their way. Twisted Minds have been far more aggressive. So even though both squads are nearing that 1-to-1 KP to placement point ratio, Twisted Mind, because of their aggression, are eking it out a little bit more in the favor of kill points overall, but also their performance in game number 4 was absolutely absurd. 18 kills to follow it up with a 16 kills in match number 3 to follow it up with a 14 kill game in match number 4 is absurd.
Well, you know, it's pretty crazy. I've been reading a little bit of some, you know, like kind of nighttime playtime stuff to my daughter. We're going through the BFG right now. She doesn't understand anything. She knows that I make these giant voices. Well, I got to say, I feel like I'm talking about giants yet again, and we might have all just woken a sleeping one here with Twisted Minds. Those 2 games, my goodness, somebody's got to be able to stop them. We'll find out as game 5 and 6 will determine our winners of match day 5 in North America. Don't go anywhere. They're coming up right after this.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
It's that time of night, Jamerson. The minds are twisting just right with 2 wins in a row. Fantastic, I want to say start, but middle of the games, really? And the question is, now that we're going into Broken Moon once again, what on earth is going to happen with the incredible momentum that this squad has accrued?
Yeah, I mean, having back-to-back victories is fantastic, but we already know that this is a squad that is very, very much vibes based, and you have to imagine that with 2 back-to-back banger games like that, it's just highest of vibes for them. So if they can continue this performance easily, they should be able to break 100 points. But now that I said it, now that I put that into the air, of course the caster curse is laying on their heads.
So true, so true. I'm sorry. Maybe next time, Al. Like you'll have to run this one again. At the moment, they do look unstoppable, at least given the games that we've seen so far. And what I'm really loving from this is the proactivity that we get to see from Al. I mean, he's literally Wraith running off on his own, but it's a proactivity that Twisted Minds are very comfortable with. Enemy gets called in when Alb really wants to commit to something and is otherwise holding things down for the team, making sure that Crook is safe and everybody's on the same page. Alb is calming in such a way that lets the team organize around aggressive plays, and Crook is calming in a way that keeps them actually put together and in the right spot.
That's the important part, right? Especially on the other side of that, right? Alb lately being able to play that aggressive was off the back of Crook just stuck in the crypto drone that whole time. So despite Alb running into what is essentially 2v3 fights, he still has Overwatch. He still has that crypto drone feed him constant information. Knowing that his back is clear allows him to play a lot more aggressively and kind of just barrel into fights with reckless regard, because, well, it's not reckless. It is completely backed up with the information coming out from Crook.
Now, things are going to have to change for our Albert lately, as the Wraith that he looked so good on this past game has now been taken out of the pool, changing things up. We kept talking about the Wraith ban potential over in EMEA because it's a pick that can move your team from place to place. It's got a lot of safety. It has a lot of ambush potential, but now that Wraith is removed from the board, you really can say there's not a single legend left available that actually gets your team from place to place safely. So what do you go with this? I mean, Pathfinder for some might be the answer, but what is your eye drawn to if we say this isn't a possibility, Jamerson?
Yeah, this could be a swap to Sparrow Path, but with how strong that they were playing with that crypto, I don't think you want to really opt for that. There is an opportunity to possibly pick up the Newcastle, because he can still provide a lot of safety in that movement, utilizing that mobile shield of his, and also being able to just lay down the Newcastle walls for added safety. Possibly a Rampart. I don't really see the Rampart coming out for them, but I think with how well that they were playing off of that, I think you stay with the aggression and you stay with Crook on that crypto. So I think it's going to be the Sparrow pickup with yeah, basically just the Sparrow pickup for them, just to replace that Wraith.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the idea of seeing Sparrow brought in a little bit more. Just yesterday here in North America, Sparrow was banned, but it was after game 5. So this would actually line up really well with what we had literally 24 hours ago happening in North America. Is Sparrow priority really jumps up, especially once you take things like crypto off the table. Now with crypto still here, I do wonder what IGLs will choose to run that and who will switch things up a little bit, especially given that this is your second go at the map, and teams will have this drop spot list maybe not memorized, but at least the ones that are most applicable to them, the teams that are rotating right outside of your immediate periphery. Say for somebody like Board down in the southwestern side of the map, they'll have the idea that teams like Flat and Twisted Minds are landing right next door to them, and that maybe picking an early fight isn't what you want to do.
Yeah, I think importantly, especially for our two top teams right now in Twisted Mind and Rock, their big question is what LG does around them. I think that's going to be the biggest impactor, right, in terms of their rotations. And so if anything, that's what Rock and Twisted Minds are going to be keeping basically in their heads as they make the rotations. But for the simple fact that they were able to rotate to the east side. We had that pull to the east over to Bionomics. They're both largely centralized. They were able to move with very little friction. That worked out in their favor. But if this ring does end up pulling over towards the Amit side, that will be a pause for concern. But the rest of the rotations up to the north, up to the northeast, that is not something that they have to very much really consider ultimately.
Yeah, thinking about the northwestern side of the zone, if I may very quickly draw our attention to a team that has some, I don't want to say question marks about them, but just always has me looking at them curiously. It's Falcons. Falcons were on top of this group the last time they met. Virtus.pro were right up there with them in second place. Virtus.pro sitting at a comfortable 8th place right now. I know they'd like to be higher. Falcons, bottom 10 right now, sitting in 12th place. It's not the end of the world because, again, once you've won a LAN, yeah, we can't really sit here and go, well, I don't know, they're just shocked. But they still would be aiming for higher than 12th, and it will still draw a lot of attention from us, from the audience, as to what's going on with this roster, given that we've had a day where they should be succeeding and they're not quite finding it.
Yeah, I think for Falcons, it's we do have to mention, of course, that the zone gods haven't been blessing them, right? That like a lot of our other teams have gotten, and they've reached a lot, or they've received a lot of friction in their rotation pathing. And when we look at Virtus.pro, the one ring that they did have come towards them, pull towards them, they were able to at least convert onto that one. I think that was a 15-point game for them. But again, Virtus.pro is a team that does very much succeed when they get those zone pulls, and they just have not been that lucky in regards. We still have 2 maps left to go. We know the potential that VP can pull out when they do get a zone pull. When they get those zone pulls, it's not just, you know, a 12-point win with a 5-kill game. It's something much bigger than that. So it can just be one game that could turn things around for VP.
Yeah, very true. VP on the verge of staging something big, but the people who've been staging big things all day have been Twisted Minds, and I want to take a moment just to take a look back at what Albralele has been able to give us so far, because they have been some crazy highlights. A personal favorite of mine has to be this particular E-District game with the Kraber. It wasn't the shot from up here that blew my mind. It was the shots that he had inside the building, looking to get aggressive, not just at long range, but at close. Landing most of your shots with the Kraber is already impressive, but being able to immediately convert those into team wipes has been a huge difference maker for Twisted Minds and Albralele. Their move onto Broken Moon, of course, was really exciting, but the Devo, it has some incredible potential when you put it in the hands of somebody like Alb, who is going to swing on you, who is going to hard commit, and realistically, Jamerson is just going to hit more shots than you are.
Yeah, and this entire course of events was wild because I threw a big question mark up in the air. I was like, why did they decide to take that building? They had the clear win if they had just ran into zone. Instead, they went for the action. They went for the kills, and that's how they ended up with a 16 KP game for themselves, and then following that up in match number 4 with a 14 KP game. And you know what? I was wrong. It is not going to be the Sparrow. It's Albralele back on the Pathfinder.
And hey, I'm happy to see it, because if we're willing to whip out Path, who is that very aggressive team mobility pick, the one that I said, you know, was left. And to your credit, Jamerson, you weren't wrong. I told you you couldn't pick it and what else might happen. So I'm gonna throw this out here that, you know, Albralele, he went with the easy pick. You had the creative vision.
The nice thing is that that's the first caster curse gone, right? I said there's no chance that they're gonna pick Pathfinder, and so they already picked it. So there we go. They broke the curse, and now they can move forward. Everything else I said after that, we just go ahead and disregard that. No longer applies to the caster curse, right?
No, I think you're good. I think you're totally fine right now. It's Falcons that I'd be sweating for, because if they're not relying on you to take Twisted Minds down for them, I don't know who's going to be able to do it. Right now, Rock lying directly in the path of Twisted Minds towards the zone could be the answer. This is an exciting turn of events, especially with LG in the area. You've got 3 teams who have all had the chance and certainly the demonstration that they can fight really heavily, actually clashing as they all rotate simultaneously up towards the north.
Rock taking a lot of time to hit that that ring console actually puts them in a pretty dire spot. You can see that LG nearly cutting them off on the rotate as we get a very hard pull up towards that core side. And we were just talking about it, you know, we said that VP, what do they need? Just one good game, one good pull over towards their side. And coming out of Alpha base, well, they're gonna get it over there at the core.
Yeah, this chance to turn things around, certainly. Rock being pressured by the Twisted Minds. Going to be running the Fuse. We mentioned that we didn't see as much Fuse in North America, but Fuse and Ballistic, an extremely impressive combination, if you ask me.
Yeah, the Fuse, Ballistic, and Crypto combination we saw out of EMEA, that being put to good use. In particular, just the combo of the Fuse nades timed with that EMP and how detrimental that can be to a team that's on the receiving end of it. For Rock, though, of course, slowed down by that rotate, are going to be cut off. A lot of teams were able to make their way into the zone here just because of that small delay. Again, we were talking about coaches earlier on. We heard Don talking about, hey, yeah, your looting path. That is so important in these situations, in these scenarios. The split-second decisions really do make a difference here, and that's why Twisted Minds, despite starting off, I believe, in cultivation, are able to get further into the zone than Rock.
I mean, they are playing just with an incredible amount of ambition right now. EMP going to connect. It's Twisted Minds who unfortunately come out in the worst for wear with just Crook left alive. It is Twisted Minds versus Falcons. It is the team on top of the lobby versus the team that has been wanting to get there all day, that has a legacy to commit to. Zero hears the res going off. An enemy gets taken down immediately. Crook swinging. Just trying to keep Twisted Minds alive, but Falcons are not giving them a chance for an easy, for a fair 1v1. It is always 2 against 1, and Falcons come out on top.
Oh, very unfortunate for Twisted Minds to go down there. And, I mean, the fight was looking good. They started off with the initial frag, but unfortunately, Fusions had an angle on them, got the knock, traded it out, and forced the reset onto them. Really good heads-up play overall, coming out from the rest of the Falcons. Their follow-up on that reset, get the re-knock, and then get the finish. But they were forced to use that Tempest, and so Falcons have to hope that no other team decides to get aggressive onto them in the next minute or so. But I think the fact that they are dead center in the zone, they don't have to worry about that. Rock, though, they are fighting their way on in, as we see on the kill feed as well. Zach Mazer holding it out up against T-Law. That's 2 members knocked down. Rock on the other side of this fight as well.
As it turns out, Team Liquid not quite finding their footing in the way that we might have expected coming into today, still being chunked out by the likes of VP. Board starting to make their rotation in. TSM up towards the north, as are the Ninjas in Pajamas, making their way through the rest of the map around the center right now, as over by Eternal Gardens, Ninjas in Pajamas have Citadel Gaming in between them and the next ring.
Yeah, I think NIP, though, of course, are going to be safe. They are out here in the boondocks by themselves over at Eternal Gardens. So many teams moved very early on to get deep into the center of the zone. That's Liquid Alienware going down as Dynasty for Most Loved. They will find him on his lonesome. For TSM, currently in 3rd place, they have a lot of ground to make up here, up against our 1st and 2nd place squads, but with Twisted Minds going down in 19th with 0 points, this is their opportunity. A win with, what, even 5 kills will easily catch them up to Twisted Minds at the very least and keep this a 3-horse race for the finish.
This is such a hilarious place for TSM to set up a Newcastle wall. It could not be more, I'm not a problem to anyone's game, please leave me alone. They are just not interacting with the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, you give them the friendly wiggle there and let them know from a distance, yeah, leave me alone. But they are just completely in an island on the northern side. You can see there's no option for a team to come in from behind them, really, unless you get some very awkward evac tower, possibly from CIMJMX, who are up there at Spaceport, could try to wiggle their way on up to that northern side. But just with the traffic that's formulating there on the south side of the zone, I think TSM are largely gonna be safe. I think Most Loved really have an option to try and contest them there. And especially with the setup that they have, the new castle wall being set up along that cliff side will keep them safe too. NIP are starting to work their way up towards Alpha Base, towards Most Loved. So TSM will be given that much more space to work with Most Loved having to deal with that. Looking at other points where there could be some fighting here in the mid game, doesn't really seem like it. Possibly with Citadel Gaming moving up to board, Flat also moving in that same direction, but there's a lot of ways that this one can pan out.
Ninjas in pajamas starting to move up behind Most Loved. This choke point certainly going to be a place where we could find some action. Let's take a quick listen in with Ninjas in pajamas and see how they approach the fight.
Listen, we have all the space to play in on the right. If this doesn't work in, okay?
Okay.
I don't see them.
One's just sitting here, I'm ping.
Yeah, this one doesn't mean.
8801, they have blue, they have blue.
Okay, I'm walking right side.
I'm walking up a little bit.
I'm gonna check it.
Right here,
Okay. Yeah. Let's chill. Here he comes. Okay, ping him again.
It's a path.
65 on him.
Yeah, walking up.
If he jump picks again, I might kill him. Jump pick again.
I'm right next to him. Okay, make noise now. Make noise. Make noise, eh? I'm here. I'm gonna kill him. 3, 2.
I got one more tap.
One chi.
Yep, I hit him too. I'm ulting for y'all.
You grappled back.
Ulting for y'all.
I threw an aid.
I'm med getting. Yeah, I'm med getting.
They fuse ulted us off.
Break it.
I can't see them.
Guys, we might get wrapped. Can we get the full?
I don't see him.
I don't know, I might zip back left side.
I'm cells, probably cells.
Where's the full? Where's the full, guys?
I don't know, I don't think they rezzed.
We need to look for the full.
They're gonna shoot him. In the back.
He died again.
Nice.
They're all in this corner right here, my ping.
No, it's only one guy. It's only one guy. I promise you. The other guy's not here with me.
Okay, I'm picking right side. Be careful here.
I got the full. I killed one.
Right here. Nice. I'm finishing him.
160 on the new team.
Okay.
I'm walking up on them. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm throwing nades up.
No, he opens the door, Vayne! Gets immediately jump scared. Apex Legends is a horror game. Somehow he's alive. That's not followed up by anyone. And Grip coming right back. The Ninjas in Pajamas do completely deconstruct the position of Most Loved on the high ground. And now with Laser, the last one left alive for the squad, being chased down on the low ground, you have to imagine Most Loved are going down, and it's all the machinations of Kurev that did it to him.
The creep up coming out from NIP, the patience as well. It's just very surprising that Dynasty somehow survived. But ultimately, you saw all the utility coming out to just try and secure that one. Unfortunately for them, I think the KP got away from them. NIP, though, still have to hold down here. Oh, no, you can't lose out on that 1v1. Most Loved will get finished off, though. Now we're down to 16 squads. NIP starting to clear out this northeast side, but now they're in a really tough spot. Rock know exactly where they're at. They have a gatekeeping position. NIP now stuck on the low ground here. Rock can just try and play for that war of attrition, right? You can slowly burn their health meds and gatekeep them until eventually you wear them down enough and you just get the KP for free.
This is where you'd really like a nice Pathfinder zip out of here. I don't know how much trouble anything can really get you out of. Omit in a bit of trouble themselves. Have a fight up against Movistar Koi on the inside. And Cody with the revved up Rampage could make all the difference. We saw Cody pull off some incredible plays on Ash earlier. And he's going to swing in right now, looking for a few extra kills, but doesn't find any members of Movistar.
Yeah, their Tempest is just about to run out, and they know it, and so they call it on that fight. Saying, though, still chasing this just a little bit. Might be able to get a tag, and he doesn't. So for now, it looks like this will be largely a wash, but knowing that the Tempest is down, Movistar looking to get aggressive themselves.
I really like the move from Movistar to retake a little bit of territory. It's recognizing what you talked about, a lack of cooldown, defensive or offensive, that your opponent is missing. And another big cooldown invested by Omit here. Cody gets immediately fried by that totally foreseeable nade. That was crazy.
It lands at his feet. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna eat this one. Never mind. As he backs away. Here we go. Omit without the Tempest this time, are going to try and commit to this fight, but Cody still hasn't been able to full heal. Blinkster follows up on it, and now it's the 2v1 as Omit will go ahead and finish that one off. Why Jelly? Never mind. Was completely safe throughout that. And Omit, I don't know why they decide to commit to that fight when you know you're at a huge disadvantage. You've got the Tempest popped on the other side, and you don't have it yourself. Yeah, well, there we go. They get cleaned up for it, and now Movistar have an easier rotation on in. They still have the Tempest pop throughout all of this because they got the 3 kills. Oh, as they move in, though, Blinkster gets knocked.
I think he hits this. It should be fine. It should be fine. Citadel Gaming should have bigger problems. And as I say that, the nades just start piling in. Apparently, it is anything but fine. Falcons, overlooking both squads, are clearly happy to take fights with 2 of them at a time.
Oh, this is the this is fine meme dog, right?
Yeah.
Everything's burning around them. Everything's exploding around them. Rock are gonna get taken out here by a combination of VP and Ford. And now the lobby's kind of wide open with both Rock and Twisted Mind gone now. There's a huge opportunity for teams in the middle of the pack to start catching up.
And it brings us right back to what you called out early on. TSM, who are up in the north, who are untouched, who are making their game nobody's problem right now, in third, have the chance to catch up by just about 20 points. Citadel Gaming not going to be given that same opportunity, as their rotation in, unfortunately, is looked over by Falcons, who ended Twisted Mind's game earlier this Broken Moon match.
Yeah, for Falcons, they have a lot of catching up to do. 21 points total here in match number 5. So they are looking for any opportunity to get these kill points. Huge scan onto the team. Clearing out that drone just in time is Zero, and he wants to continue to get aggressive. We'll see if he can find it. This spot looks familiar, by the way. I believe NRG might have utilized this one to play spoiler for Falcons just yesterday, and now the tables are reversed.
Falcons still have to be careful about the swing down onto low ground. Mythic bin going to be pretty heavily contested, not just by Falcons, but by the Corinthians as well. Virtus.pro start their rotation in and will lose one on the way as the Corinthians fall. Falcons helping to escort them from the lobby alongside Leave No Witnesses. And as Flat start moving in, the nades will hamper them a little bit, but Flat should be safe in this corner.
Yeah, their economy looking a little bit low. Louis has no throwables, other than, of course, his knuckle clusters. As they are creeping their way up to the northern side, they're going to be, of course, contested by VP, looking to gatekeep them. You can see the early Fuse ultimate utilized there just to try and slow things down. And VP, that utilization of that ult will actually dissuade Flat from pushing any further. It's Fusion looking for their way on in, and actually, it is uncontested. There's no one basically on this side of the map other than CIMJMX. We're actually moving towards TSM's position, but here's Flat taking the fight up against VP. It was VP actually getting aggressive on them, and Flat clear them out. And oh my god, the capture curse is absolutely insane on my end.
Leave No Witnesses. They think they can tango, and it looks like they're right. Unfortunately, the Stinger Bullet causes a lot of problems. Lots of healing going the way of Flat. Nano still alive in the corner. Leave No Witnesses. Throwing out a few nades, but unable to actually finish the job, as it's Ape Gang that come in and capitalize on the disarray of both teams. Leave No Witnesses scattered, but still alive. And Ape Gang look for the stragglers. Way going to fall. And on the low ground, Flat persist. No way he gets this res.
I think he will. TSM, though, are creeping out to try and prod for information here, but with how much activity there is here on the eastern side, it is looking a little bit risky for them. So they're not going to chase after this one, allowing Flat to get that res. Now for Falcons, though, utilizing that high ground position and the angles that they were able to secure for themselves, they're starting to steal away so many kills.
Yeah, Flat, huge respawn right now, and Falcons, the titans of lobby right now. Big EMP gonna come in with Pluto low. I keep waiting for the big Pathfinder swing up to the roof that I know is coming. The Ninjas in Pajamas go down. 9 squads left, and this whole building that Flat Citadel and Ape Gang have been fighting over is about to be excluded from the lobby. Leave no witnesses go down. 8 teams left. TSM still in this thing, but needing to make their own way into zone.
Yeah, they're trying to delay their push in because of the traffic here on the northeast side. It's Ape Gang now completely sending it to clear a path forward for themselves. Now the only team really standing in the way, I believe, is going to be Falcons. But no, Falcons have already sent 2 to try and deal with Fusions at LG. And they will clear that out for themselves. Somehow the anchor in the back line was able to keep Ape Gang gone, but here they are. Ape Gang knocking out TSM with no troubles whatsoever.
Ape Gang! Such a fantastic push, and I say that with all the love in the world. They are just sending people. Zero's peaking on 1 HP. Is he okay?
I think that was a DC, and at the worst possible moment for them. Falcons were on the verge of a monstrous game, and now they're left in a 2-man scenario here to finish it all out. Anything can happen here. Very unfortunate for Zero on that disconnect now. CMJMX on the northern side of this map. Fusion with full control over the west now, and Ape Gang as a 3-man. They're on the eastern edge for Falcons to try and play this one out as a 2-man on the south side. All teams pretty much in equal position here. You can see that zone basically ending out in the middle of nowhere here. And it's the only team that's really hampered in this late game scenario is Falcons with that disconnect.
When is the next push coming in? I know Ape Gang are looking for it, but with Falcons getting a respawn, by the way, in the middle of zone. Nobody is safe to push. Fusion going to ult away. CIMJMX. They really do not want to start a fight right now, knowing that these 2 teams, should they fight, will both go down. Fusion are backing away, trying to do as much damage as possible. Jomax still running towards them, as is Ghosteel, as Fusion are going to have to take this fight, and I'd rather see them get aggressive sooner than later. Kuzme gonna deal the first blow. It might just be that CIMJ go down without anybody ever firing their guns at them.
With Falcons to their back, they really can't do anything at all. They're really stuck in between a rock and a hard place here, as they do find a couple knocks. And right now, Falcons are looking for an opening that drops down from Zero, and he gets instantly cleaned up. Falcons are back to a 2-man situation here, as they're trying to deal with Ape Gang there on the eastern side. Ape Gang falling. We'll see if Falcons can still clear out this 2v3. Huge EMP.
Oh, this could be Hal. Panic's gonna go down. Peacekeeper does the work. January's up next as Waltzy swings to cover Hal. It's just 2 squads left, and it's gonna be Fusion versus Falcons. Hal waiting for his moment. Swings with the Peacekeeper. It's 1, it's 2, it's Falcons all the way, baby. Game number 5 goes to the Falcons.
Tenacity, true grit. What looked like what a disconnect from Zero there, and a free kill getting sent on over. They were able to get the respawn, get him back in. Zero kind of full sent it on Fusions, but it didn't matter. Waltzy and Imperial Hal still hold it down. They had a lot of cover to play off of. They knew their angles. They had their heads on straight to secure it. This is the bounce back that Falcons needed. And with the performance they had in the first 4 matches, they still left them in the middle of the pack overall. But with that win, they'll be able to climb up further. We saw Twisted Minds along with Rock both going down early. So a lot of the middle of the pack teams will be able to catch up.
Yeah, this was huge for a team that, like Falcons, started in 12th. Have now moved their way a little further up. We'll get the chance to check in with those leaderboards a little bit later. I need to say, Jamerson, I was so excited about the way that Hal was playing that end game with the ballistic that in my notes, I accidentally wrote Halkins instead of Falcons. Not every day that happens. 20 points for the Falcons, and Fusion right up next to them here. Big game for Fusion, and quietly so.
Yeah, they were able to pick up a lot of the kills there in the late game. They moved pretty early on to get to that northern side of the zone, and we knew that it was going to be largely quiet. But they were able to take a lot of these fights and pick off a few stragglers there on that rotate in. So Fusion's definitely one of those squads that needed this, because I think they had something like 3-4 points heading into match number 5. So now this gives them some renewed confidence. Hopefully they can finish off the day strong here in match number 6.
Yeah, really solid performance from them. I want to take a look, in fact, at where all this was coming from Fusion, because it looks like January was really going crazy in terms of the kills, but Kimchi is right up there next to him in terms of the damage. A lot of, like you talked about, really solid play, picking up bits and pieces of damage on other people, using things like the Fuse and the Newcastle to keep their position safe. A Newcastle that, by the way, neither of the other 2 teams in the top 3 was running. It was the Pathfinder, of course, for Falcons that was very exciting to watch, and unfortunately the Ballistic that had to finish things off because Pathfinder kept going down. Now for CIMJ, things got a little hairy because they didn't have any defensive capability, so when they were forced out of cover, I mean, we all saw what happened to them.
Yeah. For Fusion here, we have to mention, of course, that they do drop at core at Broken Moon, and so they had the action come to them. Luckily for them, having that Ballistic really helped in terms of their overall economy, right? If a fight breaks out, pop the Tempest, and all of a sudden you don't have to worry about your econ in that regard. You have all the ammo to work with. It's just the heals and the nades that you need to pick up along the way. They were able to do that and not quite close it out, but still that economy, I think, really came down to just having the Ballistic to be able to use, but unfortunately Ballistic will be banned out here after match number 5.
Yeah, not on the table anymore. Sparrow's still available, so excited about that. Falcons with the big jump up from 12th to 5th place has to be the biggest story of Game 5. Can they repeat the first round and take the win? It would require over 20 points from them in the next game, something that might just be possible. We'll find out after the break.
It's been nearly 4 months since we all came together. With Year 5 well underway, we now find ourselves here in the Big Easy for the first massive, big, colossal LAN of the season.
Nice little hold, only up to stay naughty from LG. The P20, he lets them ring.
Here at Atmo, Soten. Should have been an easy wipe. Should have been FWG with the hold.
And with the Ash Portal on top of it, now it's really up to Kimchi.
But Chaotic moves in, he'll find 2. He collapses on the damage. Chaotic's gonna swing.
Flying away. Red is one. Identify
from Timmy as NRG look for money. It's 150 with the Kraber. Twisted Mind, deleted Imperial How. BKG answer back, but Vapid drops down again. His Eva is monstrous.
Often up, Timmy giving all the attention to is very hard. And now Kurem does exactly that. He's swinging with the charge up rapid.
Whichever one wins will get through. Rejects the G7 hipfire shots.
Sykes is the last alive, does what he can for Envy, but it's not enough. It's Alliance. It will close out game number 1 here on Broken Moon.
So they put up a huge amount of points.
Glory Man, he'll come through the catwalk with the PK and the B20s. And it will be GHS Boom who win your match number 2 here.
Alliance have officially hit match point with 50 points after 3 games. Coilfold manages to come up. The piercing spike putting in the pressure. And Shopify.
Falcons to back up to 3 though. They get the raise. It's now Falcons' chance. As Falcons hit match point. Falcons up on the high ground. Is this the moment that this squad was put together for? Alcazia down. Falcons rising. Falcons champions. From the most insane elimination bracket run. And will be crowned your ALGS Open champions.
They have soared to ascendancy here in New Orleans, and they have that magic moment that they were built for. And quite rightly, Waltzy gets the chance as he will get to lift his first ever ALGS trophy.
Real crazy that we come out of a Falcons montage off the back of a Falcons game win, and now we are moving towards the last map on Broken Moon. And Jamerson, maybe we're caster cursing it, maybe something's gonna go on behind the scenes, but the script writer in me says, what if Falcons just took it all right now? It's so scary, but it's possible.
It is possible. I mean, we've seen the performances today out of teams like Twisted Mind that were able to put up 28-point games, but again, those are very difficult feats to accomplish overall, and Falcons haven't been doing too great on, you know, in cross map rotation scenarios so far, and that's the kind of scenario you need to have a high kill point game like that. This time around, they got the pull up to core. Coming out from Spaceport, it was an easy rotate out for them. They got a very early center position where they were very proactive throughout a lot of this game, but unfortunately, a lot of the kills got away from them. So it wasn't as a high fragging game as they would have hoped for, and especially with that DC or whatever it was, 4-0, really hindering them to get more points here in the end game. But they secured it overall. They got the plus 12. They got, I think, 8 KP throughout all of this too. So it was still a really great showing out from Falcons.
It really was, and fun to watch the way that Ballistic was so well used. The last time that we're going to see Ballistic in today's games is now for this final round. Ballistic, Wraith, Ash, Catalyst, and Alter are all off the table. A big zoning tool especially taken away with the elimination of Ballistic, and I'm curious what really replaces this, because we talked about this earlier on the EMEA stream, but for a long time Ballistic was the, well, my legend was banned, I don't know what else to play, I'm gonna pick Ballistic. He's become his own thing, and now that that's gone, what do you go back to when the comfort and safety that Ballistic provides you is all of a sudden taken out from under your feet?
Yeah, he's definitely found his identity as a legend pick, well within both NA, but extremely well in EMEA. But now that he is gone, I feel like you can possibly try and slot in the Maggie, right? Utilizing the ball for that extra movement speed along with the shotguns, but we're not seeing too many teams and too many players in particular really going for the shotgun play. So I don't think that's going to be an option for a lot of our squads. It could be, of course, the Bangalore, which is also, I think, now kind of fallen into that, well, I don't know what to pick. It's going to be Bangalore, unless, of course, we're on a map like Stormpoint, which we do see a huge uptick in Bangalore pick in that particular scenario.
You know, while I've got you here, we're prepping the lobby for our players, and I'd love to get some of your thoughts on Gibraltar specifically, because Gibraltar's such an interesting case to me, because he was a pick that was at the top of Apex Legends competitive for so long. They had to nerf him so hard to get him out of comp, and now it feels like nothing we do is good enough to get him back in.
It always seems like that case, right, with some legends. But I think he's had more than enough time in the sun. He did absolutely dominate for so long that I'm really glad to see that, you know, he can enjoy retirement for a little while. And like all things in Apex Legends, everyone comes out of retirement, right? So I don't think we have to worry about that for too long. But right now, it is a little bit difficult to slot him in just because of the wealth of utility provided by so many other legends. And in particular, Newcastle kind of being the better pick overall in that support slot. Unless we see, you know, a lot of teams really playing it a lot slower, I don't think we are going to see too many supports getting banned out where you have to opt for that Gibraltar pick. There are just so many other legends that add a wealth of utility to the team. I think it might come down to maybe some discussions about power creep really starting to come in. But in that regard, we're still seeing a lot of our older legends now really coming to their own in this meta.
Yeah, that's very true. And, you know, it's weird because I consider one of Gibby's main problems to be that he's immobile. But even in EMEA, we saw that something like Rampart that is also especially immobile, that brings way less utility than something like Newcastle defensively, was still being prioritized in a big way, even when things like Newcastle weren't banned. And so a lot of regions have different priorities as well that will over time, I'm thinking, change the global Apex meta. Is international competition always does get people's minds working in ways that the Pro League regionally doesn't tend to do, because you're fighting the same group of people all the time. Eventually you all agree on a strategy that's best.
Yeah, I love when it comes to international lands, because again, it's our few times in the year where we get to really see these teams face off against each other, the differing mentalities overall really clashing, and it's kind of been a ping pong in between, you know, which philosophy really ultimately wins out in the end.
It is, you know, I want to take a real quick look just before we get into this last game at the end of the previous game, because Falcons and whether they were going to be able to come out on top was such a big question that from their perspective, I wanted to know what went down with Zero, especially overcommitting onto the fight and getting that, I'd say, disadvantage thrown at them. The way that Falcons had to navigate this as a two-person team against 5 people in the course of a few minutes is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, that's what your skirmisher has to do, right? Swing on in and just create chaos to find an opening for your squad. And ultimately, it did. With that pressure, you know, keeping one team at bay, Falcons were able to peek the other, force them into an angle where Ape Gang had the spot on the, had the angle onto them. So small things like that do add up. It could have also just been frustration, like, oh my god, I can't believe I just DC'd, now I'm back in this game, I'm just gonna go ahead and send it. I don't think that's the case. I think it was a bit more calculated overall, but we'll see when we check Reddit later on about what happened.
Yeah, but both cold calculation and ruthless rage are definitely on brand for Zero, so it's difficult to know which it was at the time. As we drop into our last game on Broken Moon, the last shot of the weekend for Groups A and Group C to leave their mark on the ALGS Split 1. See where we go, but right now, one thing is certain: it is going to be a crazy game with Rock and Twisted Minds 3 points away from each other, and historied orgs like TSM, Leave No Witnesses, and Falcons all coming up behind them.
Yeah, Falcons a little bit further down the leaderboard than TSM, but not by much. It's still TSM trailing 20 points to Rock, and so a few things have to go right here. Rock need to go down early along with Twisted Minds, and then you need to have a banger of a game to try and catch up, and also just extend your lead over the teams behind you. For Falcons, though, I'm gonna really want to see this one. Our first zone pull going back down over towards that cultivation side. They weren't able to convert on that rotation because we had a large contingent of our squads rotating in a similar fashion down towards the cultivation and solar pods area. So we'll see if Falcons adjust here in match number 6 to what happened in match number 4.
Yeah, for Twisted Minds, I mean, it's a big smile on their faces, knowing that at least in theory, this game should belong to them. They should have the easiest time of converting placement into points. Rock, pretty close by, a big concern. And when I look out towards the teams that are going to have the long rotations in, I'm still drawing question marks around what Virtus.pro and Liquid Alienware will do. What Ninjas in Pajamas will end up pulling out, as they've yet to find a win today that have given us several highlights. And Movistar Koi coming out of Atmos Station. I've liked their play so far, but it has been a little lackluster when it comes to making it out of the mid game. Maybe a closer zone is what they need.
Oh man, I'm sorry. The days, or actually the games, kind of just blended in together. It was EMEA that had the cultivation zone. It was not NA, or excuse me, Americas that had that. It was Bionomics into the core. But yeah, same thing though. For Falcons, they're gonna face a lot of friction going down to that south side, down towards Solar. They have Omit ahead of them, and we've seen how aggressive Omit. They've been chomping at the bit for every single fight that comes their way, so Falcons need to give them a wide berth. We were talking about, you know, teams that have the crazy eyes and who you know you need to avoid. That's going to be Omit in that regard.
Really well. Citadel Gaming training their eyes, crazy or not, on Ninjas in Pajamas, who were down by Bionomics. And at the moment, they've earned themselves enough space, enough time to collect 1 kill point as well as the loot that comes with it. A bit awkward for both teams, as Ninjas in Pajamas wanted the Evo, so did Citadel, and Citadel just had the slightly faster rotate. It's happened to all of us. It's happened to me several times yesterday.
Again, these early kills aren't the worst thing in the world for NIP. Of course, they can easily get that res. They can take the rails all the way towards their next rotation, possibly over to Atmos Station, have access to both scans as well. So things could actually work out in their favor in that regard. For Leave No Witness, they are one of the teams now here. They're looking for that kind of convergence of possible circumstances to get that win at 39 points right now. They still need a high fragging game if they want a chance to catch up to Rock and Twisted Minds.
Survey Beacon could be exactly the way to do it. Get yourself a little bit more information on who surrounds you and where you can find isolated 3v3s. Liquid Alienware and Most Loved have the beginnings of an isolated 3v3, as do Virtus.pro and Fusion. Fusion with the high ground, and Slayer, without a care in the world, apparently, just walks up on them, and P2020s may not be connecting, but I'd still be terrified of the fact that a Pathfinder just walked up on me like that.
Yeah, just a few more seconds, he will have that grapple in if he wants to take it, but you can see that Fusions have been able to basically regain their footing after the full reset there. Lou with the bow check bow, though, sneaking a few arrows in. Zach Mazer gets that first knock onto Kimchi, and now VP have the 2v3 advantage.
He looks for it. Zach Mazer gonna swing around, but he gets slowed down by the wall. That is a devastating way for Zach to fall, and likely gonna be thirsted here. You got to imagine he drops down onto the low ground. Now it's up to Lou to cover. Through the Newcastle shield, he can't do much. 30-30, really connecting hard there, and if Lou goes down, VP, they're essentially done.
Now they're creeping in from the other side. Slayer's just calling it on this fight. They know it's over. They have to give it up. They have to try and get back into this game. Very unfortunate situation there for Zach Mazer, and I think we all know what's going through chat's mind in that regard. So I'm not going to harp on that point too much. They will have an opportunity to try and get back into the game, though. But now for Fusions, after match number 5, that's going to be a nice little pickup for them, getting some extra KP. It's not going to be anywhere near a win on the day, but every little bit here will help them try to get into the middle of the pack in terms of the leaderboard here at the end of the day. VP will be able to secure that respawn onto Lou and Zach, and possibly have another go at Most Loved.
Yeah, it's a good early decisive call from Virtus.pro to pull away and go, you know what, we live to fight this another time. They get respawns really quickly, and like you talked about, now with Most Loved rotating in right next door to them, Fusion could try and take that, Virtus.pro could try and take that fight. They can also try and take a safer rotate in, and the big question is going to be, how safe can you really make yourself when you're rotating in from the edge against teams like Flat that are looking for kills early, against teams like Liquid Alienware that are looking for kills early. I see ROC show up in the kill feed, though, and I gotta start wondering, for that being our team in first place, if Flat is able to take them out, that would change the lobby in a huge way.
It was a G7 scout, so yeah, it was a long range knock. They will be able to go for the full reset here. Rock, no strangers whatsoever to being center zone, especially when they get the pull down to them. The ring will pull away this time around, so it's again gonna be that situation where you have to note what the movement of the teams are around you, and especially for Citadel Gaming, when Kuro decides to drop on you.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it. One more shot. One more shot. One more shot. Nice job. Citadel Gaming turned that around. Ninjas in Pajamas are no more.
Oh man, what a scary proposition to have a fully charged up Devo dropping on you, and somehow you're just spamming jump enough to dodge out a lot of those bullets. But here's Flat looking to get a little bit aggressive here onto, I believe this is Omits on the other side of the fights. You can see Omit were able to actually maneuver themselves a little bit deeper into the zone, and Flat allowed that to happen. But as you can see, the ring pulling away from Rock, pulling away from Omits, and now it's Movie Star, LG, Ape Gang, Twisted Minds, all in the center of the zone. And most importantly, Twisted Minds, our current lobby leaders. We just need to hold down this southern position. They have very few teams really in the moment looking to contest them for that spot, you'd have to imagine that a lot of the action is going to start moving more towards the western side of that next zone. And so really the only point of contention is going to be board on that south edge.
Really gotta hope the Twisted Minds have practiced their evil lap, because with zone pulls like that, they're gonna be using it. Flat, maybe practicing their own. Seem to be on the winning end of the fight up against Omit, but again, it's Cody with the movement and with the shots connecting. P2020 is in hand that turns things around. Huzier has done some incredible stuff, but up against in a 2v1 against Omit. Huzier still with the R99. Has his work cut out for him. It's not impossible. It's just improbable.
Yeah. Again, the confusion you have to fight in. You've got the exhibit going down. You've got, of course, Omit back to the Mirage. We didn't even spot that in the confusion that is, of course, always match number 6 in musical chairs of what legends are going to play right at the end of the day. Here's Falcons, though, looking for a little bit of aggression onto Leave No Witnesses right now. Waltzy, a little bit busy. They're healing up. And it's Hal who's now forced to reset. Flat end up getting eliminated by Omit. Falcons now looking for a little bit more purchase in this fight. Waltzy finding an angle there as TSM were looking for the flank onto them.
Two teams that Falcons are looking at, Leave No Witnesses and TSM, as you had just mentioned, balancing how much space each team is going to take. A difficult job to do, but it does help. They've got a knock on one. Zero completely undaunted by the shots being thrown back at him. Throws out a nade to deny the res, and that should all but secure the kill in the favor of Falcons. Still gonna go for this. That was the wrong choice, my friend.
Yeah, he knew. He knew they were gonna hit that res ultimately, and Zero was really playing with reckless abandon on that, as I believe Waltzy was stuck hitting a Phoenix that entire time. They didn't have the drone out, giving him that valuable information. Right now, it's just Falcons looking to try and run the lobby.
I think you might have this. No, Knuckle Cluster doesn't connect for enough damage. That Pathfinder is so one, he's zero actually. Falcons, they want to, and I would say from a visceral perspective, need to finish this kill. But Leave No Witnesses are going to get out, helped by CIMJ on the exit. And Falcons now have a new target in their way, CIMJ. Can they take them down from the low ground? Hal's got everything he needs, Knuckle Clusters, P2020s, the works. Leave No Witnesses, they got themselves back into the game with a bit of a banner craft.
Yeah, Falcons, they know what they need to do to try and be first place overall. For the simple fact that neither Rock or Twisted Minds have gone down, they need to get overtly aggressive. They need to push every single fight, but unfortunately, CIMJ and X were just in such a strong position. Board here, though, taking a fight. Things not looking too great for them, but they might be able to get the reset, and it looks like possibly the Thirst.
Karyu, good job just defending the team, but not sure how much it's going to matter with the nades coming in. Virtus.pro do go down. A huge shift to the lobby, and Board are dancing, dipping, and diving to avoid the nades. Nice couple thrown in there. But Leave No Witnesses will go down. That is 2 Omit. MJ back into the game. Corinthians resetting inside their own building, and we're down to 15 squads, which means, Jamerson, placement points have started to be collected, and as you mentioned earlier, the time is now if you're going to eliminate and overtake Rock, Twisted Minds, TSM, Leave No Witnesses, or Falcons.
Yeah, for Twisted Minds, they were just so well entrenched in a strong position center zone, but the next ring will pull away from them. Citadel Gaming getting eliminated now, bringing us down to 14 overall. Falcons still looking for these fights on the edges. They do get spotted. I believe that's Rock that were initially that were holding that position very early on with that zone pull away. A lot of our center zone teams now forced to fight here on the edges. Falcons dipping and dodging away from this one. Zero with that double time speed will keep himself up. Hal needs to heal up, and
no way!
Oh, Zero with the Devo will go ahead and melt CIMJ.
You thought you could shoot Zero in the back? You were mistaken. CIMJ dead to zone in the end. And Falcons, unfortunately, on their walk-in, don't have it too much easier. It is a really rough rotate. Waltzy going to fall, and with Falcons gone, the hope cut short for them. We will be having a new victor in Groups A and C.
Most loved. Don't have much to play for here other than trying to get into the middle of the pack for TSM, though. There is an opportunity. Again, they need almost all the kills in the lobby here at this point to try and catch up. But this is where it starts. Most love here on the northern side. This is an isolated fight for now, but we do have teams angling to come in for the third party. Team Liquid Alienware now coming in. TSM trying their best to recover. They get hit with the EMP. Duke finds a moment to heal up, and it's Most Love that gets knocked out. But Team Liquid Alienware will continue to pounce along with Rock. And now it's Rock versus Liquid Alienware.
And this is the fight for a god spot. Liquid Alienware have inherited the zone, and this fight matters more than any that they have taken all day. Rock gonna hit the respawn uninterrupted on the other side and get themselves a small corner of safety. Liquid Alienware still trying to harass them. Deeds about to go down, but sits behind the castle wall for just a second. Omit go down as well. 9 squads left. Rock needs somebody to come in and help them with Liquid Alienware, but nobody is coming.
Looks like they might have been able to do it. That's a 1-for-1 exchange as Rock continue to push forward, but they're to be able to hit this res with the new castle. Throughout all of this, Twisted Minds were able to pick up a full squad wipe themselves, bringing them within 3 points of Rock. It looks like it's going to be a 2-horse finish for the finals.
Vaxlon waiting for his chance to grapple up onto the roof. You know he wants it. He's going to take it right now. Liquid Alienware, disappearing act, have gone. Get shot in the back and taken down. Twisted Minds on the ropes right now. With Abralele finishing off a few kills, there is no safe space. Almost no time to res. Will they pull it off? Crook is back into the game, but for how long? Abralele will not survive, but will lay down the zipline for his team to be roasted alive on Twisted Minds go down.
And that might just absolutely secure it for Rock. Taking a look over at the scoreboard right now, the next nearest team is 8th in 7th place with 32 points. Rock sitting on 70. That is the clear victory for them, but they want to finish off strong. They want another win. LG, though, with the pickup of Nocturnal, have an opportunity now to try and possibly pick up 3rd place overall with the win.
Rock not interested in allowing Liquid Alienware the comeback story that they were looking for to start the day. Liquid get shut down on Struggle Street once more, and Rock reset on the high ground. This pivotal 3v3 that nobody interrupted was, and will go down in history as being the fight for Godspot. LG are going to be fighting with Fusion and Ape Gang to get out of the outside of zone and into a spot that is not nearly as good as what Rock have.
Yeah, looking at the focus coming up from Rock, you can see that they have one player keeping an eye on the center of the zone, while the other 2 are keeping an eye on that western edge, making sure that a team like LG don't creep up behind them. So they know exactly what their win condition is. Keep that western edge clear for themselves. That will mean that they secure that northern side of the zone with very few risks whatsoever, honestly. And right now, they're hoping that Fusion deal with the teams to the south.
Rock playing the patient game. We're gonna take a quick listen in with them, see how they approach this end game.
I'm not sure of that. I'm not sure of that. They wall. They burned wall already. They're cutting. Big crack almost. Just keep looking left.
Yeah, I'm staying left. Healing in there. You can throw behind a queue.
Do you have nades? If the other 2 teams try, we can EMP this.
They're zipping to our wall. Close.
Okay. On me. This team's getting farmed though. Shut. Back as well.
I need to get to these.
Okay.
They're on our wall. They might come look to run under.
I think we're fine. Show. Everyone's still on spot. Top 4. The resing rifle.
Enemy agent right here.
Great recognition, Jamerson. You hear them calling it. Everybody wants to run under us. Everyone wants to share space, but we don't need to worry. We need to play together, and right now they are playing together. Rock dropped down. They got a stinger in the face, and Sorcerer has fallen.
Now Kuzme takes a huge PK shot to the face, and unfortunately Sorcerer ends up getting thirsted there. He will try and chase down Bursty and secure that kill, but will they be able to finish off Ape King right underneath them? They might have to put that focus onto something else, but no, it's Fusion now coming in for the 3P.
Vaxlon manages to survive, needs to stick a res to have a prayer of winning this game, and Fusion are still far off. I think they're going to let this go down. LG and Fusion starting to fight as Rock reset on the high ground. This is a Rock win condition, as even as a duo, they should be able to clean this up.
We just saw Falcons do that in game number 5, but Fusions are in such a dominant position, wall down. A lot of their utility have been spent, and they weren't able to secure much off of it other than space for Rock. They are going to try and stick this mobile respawn beacon. They will get that res and bring Rock back on in. Vaxlon with a huge pickup onto Naughty. Shubi falls here, and now Fusions understand that they have to deal with the threat of Rock.
They're trying to move up onto high ground. I'm just waiting for that Vaxlon Peacekeeper, baby. It was going wild earlier, and Rock have the chance to do this once again. Deeds, Peacekeeper in hand, ready to trade things out as Vaxlon has swapped over to the P2020s. Keeping Fusion honest, keeping them on the low ground. This zip line is psychotic, but the shots are iconic. Vaxlon shooting Fusion in the back, forcing them down onto LG, but Rock can't forget that LG are just waiting to circle back around on them.
Yeah, Rock have been so diligent about making sure that their right is cleared, but LG are in prime position to try and play spoiler here, and now Rock are forced to turtle up once again to deal with this threat of the two-man on the low that gives space over to Fusions now to start creeping up, and now it's anyone's game, but Rock have a lot of cover to play with here. The peek out from Deeds, that's huge damage onto Knock, and that's Fusions with a knock onto Knock.
5 more shots in this Peacekeeper that has put in so much work for Deeds. 1.7k damage. And it's about to get a little higher. LG go down. It's Rock's time to strike. They claim the first game, and now they look to claim the last. Sorcerer gonna go down. Vaxlon swoops in to finish off the fight, and the day belongs to Rock.
Rock look solid here at the end game. A little bit dicey, but they were able to really know the battleground essentially around them. They knew that they had the time and the space to get that res, to get their third back on in. They slowed things down. They didn't let the tempo of that late game basically carry them away. They were able to slow things down for themselves, and ultimately we got to see the overall shot calling that we know that a player at an IGL like Sorcerer is able to really be able to show in the late game there. Slowing down the team, making sure that you're just not getting overwhelmed by the pressure. That is immense for them, and I'm glad that we were able to have that final listen in here in match number 6 with Rock.
I'll be honest with you, Jefferson. You talk about not getting overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed by what we just saw. Great play from Rock. And to help me navigate that a little bit, Rain Day, I need you back. I need you back, baby.
I'm here. I got you. Don't worry. That was a great end game. Chaotic, iconic. What, exotic? I don't know where else. I'm just trying to stay with you there. I don't think that third one worked. But I will say it was really great to look at how they navigated a situation that was very, very stressful in trying to maintain not just the position on hype, but their position in this lobby. They didn't have any real competitor. And in maybe that same way Fusion knew, was it going to be the biggest difference if we pushed Rock? Was it going to be the biggest difference if it was for LG? I think they kind of knew there was a little bit of a titan in this category already, but they did a great job at keeping pressured, playing the right things. But because nobody decided we're going to go and take it to Rock when they're down, it just gave Rock the opportunity, and they've been playing too well all day long to give it up. 25 points. I try to hold a little bit of suspense, but you guys already know Rock is by far the leader in this game. Twisted Minds went out, and they were pretty close. So that just shows you how dominant it was for Rock. it's really a day of steady contributions to the end result. 45 points from kills, 43 points from placements. At halftime, I think it was 30-30. They just keep getting better and better, Jamerson, and that's kind of what's exciting to see. You call them out, and well, they responded.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is that, you know, with an uncharacteristic lack of conversion on that zone pull in game number 5, where they had that priority to try and get to the zone early on. There's a potential here where this could have been a 100-point day for them, but still, you know, they got the win. They got the win. What am I complaining about, right? But I'm always looking at ways that they can improve. And honestly, it came down to just a small thing, right? They were a little bit late on that zone, on that ring console that allowed other teams to get ahead of them. And that's why we go back to coaches being important about being able to really optimize your rotation path, your looting path, to make sure that you don't get caught up in the churn that is the south side traffic that happened there on that core pool.
Yeah, and you can see, Dia, that they just played a real complete game. You know, they were in final zones. They were effective when they took fights. Sorcerer, Vaxilon, Deeds just kind of got it all done in all different ways, and that's what made them so impressive to me today. Twisted Minds was a little bit more kill heavy, and that was fine for them, but they misplayed some of those final zones, as you could see, especially in game 6. But Rock had it all, one of those kind of perfect days.
They did. I was really impressed with, especially that momentary listening you called out, Jamerson. So good to hear their thought process and the fact that they're on the same page. They're a step ahead of every other team in the lobby, not just recognizing what they need, but what other squads want. Very, very cool play out of Rock. And Rain, I'm impressed and I'm elated to see a high level of Apex like this.
Absolutely. Well, you know, if you like to, you know, find your way around some old school hits, you know, it's somebody starts singing, "A began to rock, steady, steady rocking all night long." It feels like we had a little bit of our own Apex version of that. And speaking of rocking steady, well, somebody on our Sony in-zone kill leader for today was able to continue to rock no matter what showed up in front of them. And of course, that is your boy Deeds, 21 kills alongside Albrelele. We cannot forget Twisted Minds, incredible day as well, taking second place, but he wins because he had more damage on top of it. Vaxilon in a clear third above everyone else in the lobby. January from Fusion, big shout out to them in fourth place, and Hal rounding it back up in fifth. But it was just that kind of day. Deeds been showing up. He's had this confidence this last year. And Vaxilon, I mean, playing some of the best Apex he's played in a very long time. And you can see too, Sorcerer, whether it didn't work out with LG, it might have just been a fit, because it certainly isn't a level of skill. He has proven now in the open, and obviously now here online, Dia, that he knows what he's doing. Congratulations though to Deeds filling in that kill role. It's vital. It's one of the reasons they were so successful.
I mean, I called it in the middle of this game because it's probably one of the best features that a man can have as a peacekeeper like that. Deeds was just frying on the PK in this last round, and was certainly the highlight for me. No wonder that he managed to pick up so much damage when he's pumping for 100 every single time in that end zone. You called out January though, and I want to give some quick love. I know we're pressed for time, for a lot of stuff to talk about. Fusion, great day. Deeds played exceptionally, but you called out January right underneath him.
Yep.
Fusion put up 37 points in 2 games to get themselves 5th place. That's crazy. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think I love it. Fusion and, you know, a lot of these teams had a chance to show what they were made of, and certainly took advantage of it in these moments. Jamerson taking a more in-depth look at Deeds. Just continued performance. Very steady, I would say, for Rock today.
Yeah, again, largely playing the anchor role. That's where it's a little bit more surprising, right? Where you're playing the Newcastle or the Watson. You see, you don't have the same kind of impact in a lot of the fights, although he did there in match number 6. But when you allow him to kind of excel on a legend like Ballistic, you can see that he can go ballistic there, and utilizing that Tempest extremely well again, being able to play off the econ that really does provide, along with the movement speed. But like Dia said, it's great to see that now with this weapon meta, with seeing things like the R9 and the PK being utilized a little bit more, that some of our players can really express themselves and how good they actually are. So I'm glad that we have found more balance overall in terms of the weapon meta that allows for a display like this.
I mean, I love the fact that he's top fragged on Newcastle half the time, and then throwing some Ballistic in there, some Watson. I mean, very, very eclectic mix. And obviously want to talk about what he's doing for his team and why he's actually on this mix of roles. So, in fact, better to hear from him himself. Deeds joining us after an incredible day, a Sony in-zone kill leader #1, and now on the broadcast to get his thoughts after Rock has rocked steady all day long. What's up, Deeds?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. Yeah, what a crazy day. Well, first place for us. We needed this one badly.
Talk to me about that, because I want to go off of what you're feeling. Obviously elated to take the win, and you guys were tied with Twisted Minds most of the day, but you said you needed it badly. What does this win do for you morale-wise heading forward towards the back half of the season?
It does a lot for us on standings, morale-wise, like points-wise, all that matters. Before this, we were in like 23rd place, I think, on the leaderboard, and that was with 3 match days played already. Looking for mid-season qualifications, we were looking to be like top 15. And with our recent placements of like 12th, 8th, like a 17th or something, a win was what we needed to put us back where we needed to be. I couldn't do it without my teammates and the coach and everybody that supported me.
You know, Adiz, this is going to be kind of odd, but I remember you at this time last year. It's literally this date last year. And managed to qualify for the Esports World Cup at the time, and you were playing on tripods. And I remember you put out a lot of videos, montages, things like that, about what an incredible accomplishment it was for you as a player to prove that you could do this, and to prove it not just to the world but also to yourself. A year now has passed since that date. You just managed to pull out a huge win here in the Pro League. How far have you come in terms of how much you need to prove to yourself, how much you feel you need to prove to yourself as a player, prove to the world as a player? What has that relationship been like in the evolution over the course of this last year?
I would say that from last year to now, like making a LAN was the biggest goal I had. At this point in my career now, having made 3 LANs, I'm now looking to have an impact in the final stage of any of these LANs. I know I'm a lot better than my results have shown. And I think this is the team to make it happen with. So yeah, like genuinely, my expectations going forward are just like, I want to make another LAN, and I want to get to that finals, and I want to hoist the trophy.
Now, speaking a bit more recently, of course, with all the changes that came in for year #5 with the Legends band, we're seeing, of course, teams players, really have to dig deep in terms of their Legend compositions and their Legend picks. For you in particular, we saw you picking up the Newcastle along with the Watson and the Ballistic. The Ballistic itself is the one that, really does pop out here, because it's a completely different playstyle from both Newcastle and Watson. What is that kind of adjustment like on the fly in between matches, having to deal with very drastic different playing styles on those Legends?
It can be a lot for certain players. Given my I played a lot of anchor support throughout my entire career, and I've always wanted the opportunity to be that fragger. I played a bunch of different characters throughout my career, so I would say my adaptability, that's the most important thing. Is my ability to adapt is, I think, second to none. I think I could play any character and play it at a really high level. That comes with the experience and coaching throughout my career. But yeah, when I go from Castle to Ballistic, it is a completely different game. When I'm on Castle, I'm the support character. I need to be the last one alive. I need to make sure I keep my teammates alive. But when I'm on Ballistic, it's free reigns. I get to do whatever I want to do. If my teammate calls that he's going to crypto EMP, I know that my job is to run straight in there and get a knock. And that's what I do.
You showcase that now more than ever. I think it's been great to see stories of players doing things that maybe they've always been able to do, but the meta, the way the league has been set up, hasn't supported them in doing it as frequently. So, you know, the audience at home, maybe even some of us casters haven't seen that on display, even though you pros might have, or, you know, training and scrimming with somebody else. For you, showing your ability not just to be flexible, but also to frag is a big element of your play. You understand how good you are. I want you to kind of walk us through this final moment that happened in game 6, because I don't know if you know it or not, you were top kill leader for today. You got our Sony in zone kill leader first place. And these last couple of kills, that last zone, you know, you guys had the revive. That's what set it up. So walk us through that final circle in your eyes.
That final circle was... I couldn't even explain the feeling. Being on Newcastle and having a PK, I'm one of the only Newcastle players in the lobby. Not a lot of teams are playing Castle. He lasted all 6 games. And then having a PK to jiggle peek with versus every other player using like a P20 or an R9. I almost think that I'm going to win every fight if I have a Newcastle Q down. It is like thrilling. When I saw that team below us too, and we had them right where we wanted them, or like with nothing to really worry about, it was just, I just had to hit my shots, line them up, hit them, and it was a GG's.
I mean, you bring that up so well, because that P2020, you need the sustain and the line of sight. Newcastle last in 6 games, and that was a problem for the rest of the lobby once they ran into you and that PK. Deeds, congratulations, man, on a great win. Congrats on kill leader for today, and congrats on you guys taking the overall first place. It was a great performance. I think a lot of us are really excited to see what you can do at future lands and for the rest of the Pro League.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, Deeds from Rock. He spent some time with us and also continued to showcase why he, Vaxon, and Saucer are a team to consider. And obviously, Dia, this is really one of those great starts to the back half of our season, because we need new narratives. We need new teams showing up and saying, especially with the energy of the Open still upon us, showcasing that it's not just going to be the big names that you thought going into this. And North America already shaping up to be a fun finish. Falcons, 66 points. They still take the lead with a 4th place finish today. But Diaz, you take a look at how North America stands. What stands out to you?
I mean, I'm obviously looking at Rock just to check in with how they're doing today, and I'm really happy to see Movistar Koi sitting in 10th place right now. That is a solid position to be in, as we're well into round 2 now. They still have a little while left to play. Fusion are looking really good. I'd be concerned for Team Liquid Alienware given what they showed us today. I think that is definitely a team to keep your eye on, and I'm not sure which way I mean that. And the Citadel Gaming cutoff is just something that I'm keeping my eyes on, because when you get into the 17th to 24th area of our leaderboard, that's where the real magic is going to happen towards the end of the season.
Any expectations you see here, Jamerson, of teams that you think are gonna climb in these next few weeks, or maybe gonna fall?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to say, of course, one squad that I was looking forward to was going to be Orchid, right on their 4th match day, to see where they would land at the anything. But of course, with the shakeup in rosters, I don't know if they'll have that same kind of opportunity to do so. I'm hoping for them, of course, sitting there with 3 match days and 1 more to play, just to at least catch up with the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, Fusion sitting, I think, in maybe 13th right now after today's performance. Pretty impressive, and going to be pretty impactful to give them a chance, of course, at making these upcoming lands and the ability to continue to perform in our Pro League. Of course, we've got all that action coming up soon, guys. But before we close out the day, I want to leave you with some final thoughts. So, Dia, it's been a great one. EMEA, North America, we saw some Zero Tenacity vibes on the beginning of the broadcast, and now Rock closes it out. What are your final thoughts after a great match day 5?
I mean, you know me, I love Apex Legends, and I also love a good story. So I'm walking away from today being really happy with what we saw Rock accomplish. I think that they're a team made up of great guys, as so many teams in Apex are. But what I'm really happy with is that we got this update on the Deeds story, because again, like I've seen him for the past year as somebody who, you know, is always trying to prove himself, and just getting the update from him today that even with this win, that it's less of a huge moment for him to win today and more of a step that he expects of himself along his path to eventually winning LAN, is a really nice way to keep writing that story for who's an amazing guy.
It's going to be exciting to see what he does in the future. Jamerson, your closing thoughts for today, a big day. EMEA, North America finally coming to an end here and setting us up for our final few weeks of Pro League.
Yeah, I'll say, of course, with the uptick in stock on Twisted Minds, that we were hoping for a big performance out of them today. They did make a statement despite not being able to get the win on the day. Game number 3, game number 4, getting the back-to-back dubs with 16 and 14 kills respectively in both of those games really does show the potential that this team has when it comes to being able to just frag out in lobbies. And so I want to see that continued kind of consistency out of them. If they could have just pulled together one more game like that, of course, they could have won on the day. But the fact that they were able to do that 2 games in a row is a really good sign for me. And I'm loving to see this kind of success for that squad.
Well, everyone watching at home, watching online, and of course, even myself and all of our production has been loving to see your beautiful faces all day long. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So I'm going to say goodbye and say thank you. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you guys very soon. All right, Jamerson and Dia, fantastic cast. And if you guys want to see more casts coming up, well, May 31st. That's right. Next week, we have our match day 6. Amia, remember, starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we're up bright and early, ready for a full day of action. We'll see who can battle it out in groups B versus C in both of those North America and Amia runs. It's going to be a fun one. If you're ever curious on where things land or what has happened, you got to follow us on our socials at Play Apex Esports on X, youtube.com/Play Apex Esports, and on twitch.tv/Play Apex. All the information, all the VODs, and all the upcoming scheduled VODs, so you can leave yourself a reminder and never miss a beat when it comes to the ALGS. We're back here on the back half of the season, and it's already started off with a blaze. Cannot wait to see how the heat continues to rise here in the ALGS as we head towards more lands, more moments, and more memories here for Apex Legends. My name's been Rain Day. On behalf of everyone on our broadcast team and EA and Respawn, we appreciate you for watching. We love you, and we want you to remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all next time.